we can't have nice things. The UK's National Environment Research Council, or NERC, is asking the public for name suggestions for their newest research vessel, a $288 million ship years in the making. And if the internet gets its way, it will be called Boaty McBoatface. That's right. The council is learning the hard way that when you ask the internet for something serious, most likely you will get something snarky in return. McBoatface is the current frontrunner among suggestions that include the RRS It's Bloody Cold Here and Usain Boat. NERC has smartly specified the names are suggestions only, so there's still a chance it will be named something boring, which will undoubtedly earn a collective from the internet. Whatever, Boaty McBoatface has my vote. Maybe we should all vote on new names for NERC. I'm Jeremy Roth.
Dolly Parton and Katy Perry will team up for a performance at the Academy of Country Music Awards. It'll be the first time they've ever performed live together. The ACMS will be April 3rd in Las Vegas and shown live on CBS. That's it for America in the Morning for Tuesday, March 22nd, 2016. Our producer is Tom DeLack. Senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout, and this is Westwood One News.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tobert, your advertising consultant from iFIBER ONE Newsradio. Are you missing customers because you only market to a specific group? iFIBER ONE Newsradio can help you hit a larger group of buyers with our diverse audience. We are 24 hours of local and national breaking news, award-winning talk radio, and primetime sports, including local high school sports. What does this mean to you? This means our listeners listen longer to entire programs and don't switch to another station when a commercial comes on. Our coverage in the Puget Sound area hits over 500,000 listeners, including Mason County, Thurston County, Grace Harbor County, King, Pierce, Joint Base Lewis McChord, and Kitsap County to the Bremerton Naval Base. All advertising is 100% tax deductible. So how can you afford not to advertise? Call me, Mark Tobert, at iFIBER ONE Newsradio to become a total audience plan advertiser. Just call 360-426-1030.
Tom Hartman is live and waiting your call. Weekdays from 9 to noon on iFIBER ONE News Radio, AM 1030, FM 1033, KMAS Shelton.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Karen Chase. French President François Hollande says terrorists struck Brussels, but it was Europe that was targeted and all the world that is concerned. Security is being beefed up in major cities around the world in the wake of 2 Brussels bombings at the airport and a metro station that have killed at least 26, injured dozens, and counterterrorism expert John Cohen says could be another case of ISIS-inspired terror.
For several years, ISIS has been employing a sophisticated social media campaign to inspire and recruit people across Europe and the United States, Canada, Australia. There may be hundreds, if not thousands, of people out there in communities across Europe and the United States who are inspired by the ISIS ideology.
Hours after the Belgian blasts, law enforcement authorities in London, Paris, and New York stepped up their police presence and alert levels. ABC's Martha Raddatz tells us intelligence sources had warned that the recent arrest of a Paris terror attack suspect might trigger other terror cells.
They feared that there was an attack that was planned, and when he was arrested, that they might do that attack early because they might have feared that Abdul Salam would tell authorities something, tell them where it might happen. So by all appearances, this terror attack was carried out quickly. They coordinated.
President Obama has been briefed and is expected to comment on the attacks in a speech in Havana in about an hour. The FBI might not need Apple's help to unlock the iPhone of one of the San Bernardino shooters. Agency engineers are testing out a new method that might work, and they've postponed an L.A. court hearing on whether the company can be forced to help them unlock it. Nate Cardozo with the Electronic Frontier Foundation says the feds had a weak case.
The San Bernardino case wasn't about this one phone. It was about trying to set a legal precedent.
Apple devices might not be as secure as believed. Researchers at Johns Hopkins have found a security bug in iMessage, Apple's encrypted messaging platform, that could let hackers read certain messages. This is ABC News.
QL1, does Rocket Mortgage require me to fill out a bunch of paperwork?
Negative control. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that quickly imports your financial data. You can go through the entire mortgage approval process in minutes.
That is fast, like rocket fast.
It also works on any internet-ready device, so you can get a Rocket Mortgage at any time or place you choose. Over.
3, 2, 1.
Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Hear that? That's the sound of you creating your own destiny. While others are waiting in line for brunch, you're spending Saturday in the garage. Because you went to AdvancedAutoParts.com, ordered a platinum battery with a 3-year replacement warranty, and picked it up in-store just 30 minutes later. Now, installing a battery isn't an all-day job, but what the brunch crowd doesn't know won't hurt it. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage. Visit AdvancedAutoParts.com to learn more.
Did he fake his own death? That's what officials in Australia are now wondering about Olivia Newton-John's partner, Patrick McDermott. He was thought to have drowned a decade ago off California, but ABC's Ben Coles has the latest on his fate.
Australian Women's Day magazine is claiming that information released to it from police and private investigators has in fact revealed that McDermott is very much alive and well and living in the small Pacific coastal Mexican town of Sayulita, some 500 miles northwest of Mexico City. Now 59, the magazine claims McDermott is working in the maritime industry for a wealthy local family in the town under an assumed identity, and that he has settled down with a new German girlfriend. Ben Coles, ABC News, Sydney.
A piece of debris that may have been part of that missing Malaysian Airlines jet has washed up on the southern coast of South Africa. Officials say it was found near Mossel Bay town, and based on early reports, there's a possibility it's part of an aircraft engine covering. A team will retrieve it and examine it. Karen Chase, ABC News.
Local news is brought to you by Fred Holmes Tree Service. FredHolmesTreeService.com, 427-4489.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. A leaking propane gas required the evacuation of several Lynch Road area neighbors, but ended without explosion or injuries Sunday. Mason County Fire District 4 Chief Bob Burbridge said firefighters who responded to the scene of the leaking tank evacuated about 8 homes in a half-mile radius of the tank as a safety precaution. Roadblocks were set up in the 3800 block of Lynch Road between Sells and Cole Roads, preventing about 30 residents on Phillips Road to return home until the tank's propane dissipated. The tank ran out of gas at about 10:30 p.m., and the site was cleared at around 11 p.m. Jennifer Beria from the Mason County EDC and George Sharp from Sharp Strategies and Solutions came on Daybreak Monday to talk about this week's kickoff roundtable with the various industries around the region in an effort to pinpoint what can be done to boost businesses within key segments of the economy. George was brought on by the EDC to serve as a roundtable facilitator, and he shared his experience.
I used to work for the Washington State Department of Commerce for 11 years, and then I worked for the Olympia Lacey Tumwater Visitor and Convention Bureau for 5 years, and I just started my own firm called Sharp Strategies and Solutions back in April.
Oh, wonderful.
So I did a lot of facilitation around the state for 11 years.
This week, aquaculture starts the roundtables.
So the first one is aquaculture. Washington is a huge producer. It's leaps and bounds over California and over Oregon. I think our revenue last year was pretty close to $1.3 billion. That's for the total for Washington. And so that's a big impact that we've got. We've got probably about 1,300 jobs in Washington that are directly supported by aquaculture. So that's your divers, that's your growers, that's your producers. All of those are rolled into that.
George shared what the goal of the discussions are.
What our goal is to come out with a strategic plan for each one of these industries as well. We'll also ask them what's going really well in the industry, what could go better. Is there anything that the industry should stop doing? Maybe technologies change or the customers change. Anything they should start doing because technologies change and the customers change. What are the resources they need to be successful? And that might not just be money, but education, those kind of resources that we can kind of align for the table. And then also, who else should they be partnering with? Maybe there's people that they haven't been aligned with because they didn't know that they were available. And that's our ultimate goal, is to come out with a strategic plan that helps the industry move forward.
He adds the first overall goal is to retain businesses in Mason County. Second is to help them grow and expand. And third is to find businesses to recruit to help make local businesses achieve even more success. Find more information about the roundtables on the EDC's website at choosemason.com. For iFIBER ONE News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
The Chad Benson Show.
I would be frustrated at times, too, as president, never being able to get anything done. Because the people, if you will, below you are going to fight all the time.
So it would be frustrating as hell. I get it. He goes about it the wrong way. That's not what you're supposed to do as a leader. But in saying that, I understand. I do.
The Chad Benson Show.
Hey, it's Chad Benson. Join me this afternoon from 3 to 6 at iFIBER ONE News Radio.
At Mason PUD3, we know that time changes all things, like phone numbers, mailing addresses, and email addresses, even names. PUD3 needs your correct account information for emergency contacts and online security. To make this fun, all PUD3 customers who update or confirm their account information by April 27th will have their names placed into a drawing for a free iPad mini. Go to masonpud3.org/account to learn more.
Now, from the all-new Gillis Auto Center Sports Desk, here's Jeff Slakey.
First pitch to Cruz, breaking ball, driven deep to left. There it goes, all the way back is Thompson, can't get it. 3-run homer for Nelson Cruz, the boomstick, with his second blast of the season in the Mariners. The 3-run shot take the lead at 5-3.
Yeah, the final score last night, 6-3, as the Dodgers lost to the Mariners yesterday. Game heard here on iFIBER ONE News Radio. Good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey. Nelson Cruz put the Mariners on top with that 3-run homer. Our next Mariners game is tomorrow against Oakland at 7. Kelsey Plum scored 32, and Washington shocked second seed Maryland 74-65 to reach the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament for the first time in 15 years. 7th-seeded Huskies squeezed past Penn in the opening round for the women's NCAA tournament victory, and the first one since 2006. Gonzaga preparing for the Sweet 16 this week. The Bulldogs face the Orange of Syracuse on Friday. The Zags, despite their number 11 seed, were not underdogs in the opening lines for the first 2 games. They were pick'ems against Utah and a 1-point favorite against Seton Hall. We've got the game for you this Friday, pregame at 5:20, tip-off at 5:40. Oregon Ducks working to get ready to play in their Sweet 16 tournament this Thursday. The Ducks coming off a 69-64 win over St. Joseph Hawks. Managed the school record of 30 victories set back in 45. Ducks taking on Duke this Thursday. 6:10 now at iFIBER ONE News Radio. Moving on to the South Sounds forecast. Here's Carol Gardner.
Good morning. We're having a calm morning so far. Temps around 40s, possible light showers. You might see the moon if you're looking.
Full moon, no?
The 23rd or 24th. I think tomorrow. It's the full moon.
Looks pretty full to me.
And if you're out early, you might see the moon. But if you're out a little later, you might catch a good sunrise. That's going to be about little after 7 o'clock. The afternoon looks to be partly sunny, but rain will begin and increase in the later afternoon. Highs in the mid-50s today. Tomorrow starts about the same, a little drier, but by afternoon, wet and breezy. Right now, it's 42 in Shelton.
Now, from the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Yeah, good morning to you. 6/11, Tuesday, the 22nd. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Jeff.
It looked pretty full. The moon looked pretty full this morning.
It usually...
What's that star right next to it?
It's a good question.
You're supposed to know those things. How you're going to take care of the weather.
I do. What's the stars have to do with the weather?
Well, you know, the stars at night, and they're big and bright, deep in the heart of... I don't know what the stars have to do with weather, but if there's no clouds, you see the moon, you see the stars.
Navigation, celestial navigation, back in the old days. I don't know, it's Jupiter, Venus, or Mars? It's probably... I'm thinking it's Jupiter.
You ever think it's weird that you look at the moon... Go out and look at the moon, unless you're driving, then just kind of look at the moon. And the moon size is roughly the same size in our purview as the sun. You ever think that's weird? You ever thought about that?
I do not think it's weird, maybe because I understand the physics.
What physics? I mean, the sun, just the odds that the sun is so much further away than the moon.
Right.
Yet, when you look at them visually, the circumference is similar.
Because the sun is that much huger than the moon.
I know, but of all the sizes, like, why wouldn't one of them be bigger?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
When you look at it visually, it looks the same.
So it's easier on us poor humans, so, our minds don't get blown.
Wrong answer. It was because the Matrix. We're in the Matrix.
That could be. So it's Jupiter. We are seeing Jupiter. Mm-hmm.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
I'm Ari Wolf with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The NFL annual meeting continues through Wednesday in Boca Raton, Florida. Owners, coaches, and general managers have gathered, and that group includes Patriots owner Robert Kraft. Kraft said Monday that he sent a letter to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell a month ago asking for the NFL to overturn the penalties related to last year's deflated football scandal. New England lost this year's first-round pick, a future fourth-round pick, and was fined $1 million by the league. An NFL source told NFL Media's Judy Batista, however, there is zero chance the Patriots will get their first-round pick back. The NFL continues to consider expanding its reach overseas. According to NFL Media's Albert Breer, that can involve a regular season game in Germany in 2017 and in China as early as 2018. Tune into NFL Network for live updates from the NFL annual meeting throughout the day. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Spend $24 right now at Napa, and you can get a free Napa Chase Elliott racing cap. Buy $24 of oil, get a free cap. Buy $24 of headlamps, get a free cap. Buy $24 worth of Pine Tree scented air fresheners. Well, we won't ask you why you need $24 worth of air fresheners. We'll just hand you a free Napa Chase Elliott racing cap. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer expires 3/31/16.
Geico applauds your inner happy camper.
A merit badge of awesomeness goes out to the part of you that wants to put the recreation in recreational vehicle. The part of you that packs up everything and everybody in the RV and says, let's get this show on the road. Because Geico has specialized agents who help save money on more than just car insurance. Geico will insure that entire RV, so you can get the s'more making, poison ivy dodging, same song singing, ghost storytelling, campfire building, best time you ever had with your family show on the road.
Geico for your RV. See how much you could save.
iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
.615 at iFIBER One News Radio. Good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Coming up at 7:15, 35th District Representative Dan Griffey talking about the special legislative session that continues on. Rebecca Lawson will be here as well talking about the meeting about the C Street landfill. We'll be talking with Rebecca at 8:45. News from around the Northwest this morning. Records show injuries suffered by workers on Seattle's downtown tunnel project last year resulted in about $700,000 in workers' comp claims. Contractor was cited and fined twice in 2015 for safety violations. A review of worker safety records by the Associated Press shows workers sustained injuries like an amputated foot, a fractured hand, and a fingertip crushed so badly it had to be surgically removed. Yesterday, Carol and I saw a photo on Gizmodo, the Gawker Run website Gizmodo, about and then you remember that photo? There's a there's a guy in the tunnel.
Yeah.
This is an impressive photo.
I know. The tunnel is pretty huge. I mean, Bertha is huge.
I didn't realize it was the tunnel would have is a double deck.
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be one road, not a double decker in the tunnel.
That's why it's so huge.
Yeah, that's why I was shocked when I saw that photo. The Veep.
Have you come down?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Vice President Joe Biden toured a Seattle research facility yesterday, saying scientists are a turning point in their efforts to eliminate cancer. The tour is part of the White House's $1 billion proposal for a new initiative to cure cancer. The president's announcement during the State of the Union in January, Joe has been visiting cancer researchers and advocates. He's encouraged by the improved cooperation among the cancer research community.
A 625-foot bulk carrier ran aground in a narrow part of the Columbia River near Cathlamet, Washington. The U.S. Coast Guard says the vessel loaded with grain was heading west with the river pilot still on board when it ran into trouble early Monday. 2 tugboats were on the scene to keep it stabilized. The vessel named Sparna contains more than 200,000 gallons of high sulfur fuel and about 40,000 gallons of diesel. The captain of the port for Columbia River says responders have not seen any oil in the water and the cause of the incident remains under investigation. Former President Bill Clinton is going to be in Spokane and Vancouver campaigning for his wife, Hillary. In the run-up for the Washington Democratic caucuses that will be this weekend, Bill's going to speak at the Spokane Falls Community College. He spoke at the Spokane Falls Community College Monday, and he also spoke at the Clark College in Vancouver. Hillary Clinton has a lead of more than 300 delegates over Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders in the race for the presidential nomination from primaries and caucuses following a sweep of 5 states last Tuesday. Washington, Alaska, Hawaii are holding their Democratic caucuses this Saturday, and Washington has the most delegates ultimately at stake with 101. Sanders also spoke to large crowds in Vancouver, Seattle, and Spokane last Sunday.
So they don't put in the superdelegates in that list. What you read is that Hillary has a lead of more than 300, and that's based on the delegate votes in the caucusing and the primaries, not the superdelegates. Because if you look at it on the media, it looks like it's way out of hand because of all the pledged super delegates. Right. In the state here, we've got the governor. He's got a super delegate vote 1, and so does the congressional committee, the congressmen and women. I think that's about 17. Tomorrow we'll talk with one of those super delegates, Derek Kilmer, right here on the radio. At least 28 people have been killed and others injured in 2 explosions at a Brussels airport. ABC's Alex Marquardt has more on this one. The latest news.
Brussels under attack. Dozens are dead, countless are injured after coordinated bombings at the airport and one subway station in the Belgian capital.
Near the entrance, and we saw a lot of people really badly injured, with a lot of blood, and we know that it was even worse inside, but we could not see anything because of the smoke.
ABC's Megan Hughes is in Washington.
Here in the U.S., Homeland Security and FBI officials are monitoring the situation unfolding in Brussels closely. Attorney General Loretta Lynch has been notified, and the New York City Police Department is monitoring as well. In New York City, expect an increased security presence at subways and major transit stations. The president is in Cuba this morning and scheduled to deliver a speech shortly after 10 a.m. Megan Hughes, ABC News, Washington.
It's thought that at least one of the explosions was the work of a suicide bomber. This morning, the ranking member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence says it bears the hallmarks of ISIS. With continuing coverage, Brussels under attack. I'm Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Mary Lynn Foster has local news coming up at 6:30 in about 10 minutes. There's information about the propane leak that happened on Sunday and news about this week's aquaculture roundtable with the Mason County Economic Development Council. Also, a couple more Northwest stories to tell you about a couple arrested in a murder for hire plot in Yakima and some new news on the Hanford cleanup process. That's all coming up right after this on Daybreak.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Paraswabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of Paraswabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Paraswabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Dr. Martin Ginniker that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Paraswabs risk-free, call 1-800-928-7113. That's 1-800-928-7113. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends, family, and coworkers talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-928-7113. That's 1-800-928-7113.
You know, this is a good time to subscribe to the Journal. Most importantly, you get a great local newspaper. We were voted the best mid-sized weekly newspaper in the state, which helps you stay connected to your community. And then there is the fact that subscription rates remain low while individual paper prices are increasing for 2016. You can save as much as $40 this year with your subscription. Quality, convenience, and low price. The Journal gives you all that every week. Call 426-4412 or go to masoncounty.com.
Gillis Auto Center in Shelton. Best deals, best price, best trade, and low payments. Whether you're looking for a car, truck, hybrid, SUV, or performance car, we have them at the all-new Gillis Auto Center. Just go to Gillis, where low overhead and low sales tax means great savings for you. Family-owned Gillis Auto Center, where you get the lowest price at professional, courteous service. The all-new Gillis Auto Center in Shelton at the City Center Matlock exit and 24/7 at GillisAutoCenter.com.
iFIBER ONE News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
Welcome back to Daybreak. I'm Carol Gardner with Jeff Slakey. Good morning. On Daybreak AM 1030 and FM 103.3. It's 6:23 and about 40 degrees out. We're streaming this morning audio and video on iFiber1newsradio.com. 35th District Rep Dan Griffey is coming up about 7:15. And Mary Lynn Foster's local newscast is in about 10 minutes. We mentioned that the Yakima Sheriff's Office says a couple who tried to hire a hitman to kill the woman's ex-husband has been arrested. The man and women who live in Richland were booked into a Yakima County jail Saturday on suspicion of solicitation to commit murder. The sheriff's office says an unidentified person contacted law officers saying the man wanted to hire someone to kill the woman's ex-husband who lives in Vancouver. The Yakima Herald Republic says the sheriff's office obtained text messages that backed up the informant's story.
Man. You ever been in a situation where things, you think back now and you go, boy, there's one event and your life could be totally different.
Mm-hmm. I think almost every choice you make,
oh my
your
goodness,
life could go in a different path.
This is a tough one. Officials have named a Port of Seattle attorney as the new manager of the Washington State office that helps regulate cleanup efforts at the Hanford Nuclear Reservation. Tri-City Herald reports the Ecology Deputy Director said in an announcement yesterday, Attorney Alex Smith would take over for Jane Hedges, retired at the end of February. Smith will start the job as manager of the department's nuclear waste program in Richland on the 18th of April. She'll receive a little over $100,000 a year, manage a staff of about 90. Staff has been in charge of the cleanup of the Hanford site, which includes 56 million gallons of radioactive waste stored in underground tanks. The vitrification plant will be built soon to treat it. Wow, there's a lot of work over there. I've never been over there, though, to that. I mean, I would imagine you can go look around at some of those things. There's monuments, museums. It's a big portion of the America's history, world's history, too, if you think about it. It's where they worked on the bomb, stuff like that.
You should take a field trip.
I should.
That's part of your homeschooling program with Kaiser.
Maybe the next time I'm over there, and afraid I'll take another day or something. President is still in Cuba today. He's going to attend a baseball game. This is something. First time since '99 an American baseball team is in Cuba. The Cuban national team will take on the Tampa Bay Rays, and Alex Stone is in Cuba. Tough assignment for him with this report.
Baseball is king here in Cuba. Tampa Bay Rays third baseman Evan Longoria says a common thread between the two countries is the love of baseball.
Just from the time that we set foot on the ground, the amount of people in
the amount of fanfare that this event has garnered.
Today's game comes at a time when baseball is in crisis in this country because so many players have defected to the U.S., gutting Cuban teams. And to make matters worse, new regulations will allow Major League Baseball to directly hire Cuban players. Alex Stone, ABC News, Havana, Cuba.
I mean, Cuban players are going to make it to America and be playing with them. There was a story in the post game of the Mariners yesterday. I heard about a guy who was out on an exhibition. I think the Cuban national team was somewhere on an exhibition, and well, the bus is leaving at 6:32, and not on the bus. And the next thing you know, he's playing for the majors here in America. And kind of an amazing story about how it takes, yesterday we talked to, it was 3 days. The last time a president visited Cuba, it took him 3 days. Went in a battleship. This was in the 1920s. And took the president 3 hours in his Air Force One. Do you see the picture of him? What's the president's name down there? Raul Castro? Fidel's brother, Raul Castro. That's what it is. Anyways, did you see him hold up president's arm? Did you see the picture?
I didn't see any of those pictures.
It was like almost like both guys should have held hands and put their arms above their head and kind of like look at this, we're doing something historic. But the president, I think, felt the optics of him looking like he's champion Cuba. So he really had like a limp wrist. It looked like he really was being forced to raise his hand up in the air.
Which one? Obama?
Obama was
being forced?
So Castro lifted his hand. If you're watching the video, you can see this right now. But he and President.
That's all?
That's about it. You can check it out. Very awkward handshake this morning.
Wow. Strange.
It is strange. Google it. 6:30. Mary Lynn Foster's latest in local news coming up. ABC Sports. Mariners with a big win, and Gonzaga getting ready for the Sweet 16. It's all coming up.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, I'm Mary Lynn Foster. A leaking propane gas required the evacuation of several Lynch Road area neighbors, but ended without explosion or injuries Sunday. Mason County Fire District 4 Chief Bob Burbridge said firefighters who responded to the scene of the leaking tank evacuated about 8 homes in a half-mile radius of the tank as a safety precaution. Roadblocks were set up in the 3800 block of Lynch Road between Sells and Cole Roads, preventing about 30 residents on Phillips Road to return home until the tank's propane dissipated. The tank ran out of gas at about 10:30 p.m., and the site was cleared at around 11 p.m. Jennifer Beria from the Mason County EDC and George Sharp from Sharp Strategies and Solutions came on Daybreak Monday to talk about this week's kickoff roundtable with the various industries around the region in an effort to pinpoint what can be done to boost businesses within key segments of the economy. George was brought on by the EDC to serve as a roundtable facilitator, and he shared his experience.
I used to work for the Washington State Department of Commerce for 11 years, and then I worked for the Olympia Lacey Tumwater Visitor and Convention Bureau for 5 years, and I just started my own firm called Sharp Strategies and Solutions back in April.
Oh, wonderful.
So I did a lot of facilitation around the state for 11 years.
This week, aquaculture starts the roundtables.
So the first one is aquaculture. Washington is a huge producer. It's leaps and bounds over California and over Oregon. I think our revenue last year was pretty close to $1.3 billion. That's for the total for Washington. And so that's a big impact that we've got. We've got probably about 1,300 jobs in Washington that are directly supported by aquaculture. So that's your divers, that's your growers, that's your producers. All of those are rolled into that.
George shared what the goal of the discussions are.
What our goal is to come out with a strategic plan for each one of these industries as well. We'll also ask them what's going really well in the industry, what could go better, Is there anything that the industry should stop doing? Maybe technologies change or the customers change? Anything they should start doing because technologies change and the customers change? What are the resources they need to be successful? And that might not just be money, but education, those kind of resources that we can kind of align for the table. And then also, who else should they be partnering with? Maybe there's people that they haven't been aligned with because they didn't know that they were available. And that's our ultimate goal, is to come out with a strategic plan that helps the industry move forward.
He adds the first overall goal is to retain businesses in Mason County. Second is to help them grow and expand. And third is to find businesses to recruit to help make local businesses achieve even more success. Find more information about the roundtables on the EDC's website at choosemason.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
Is your family doing some growing? Whether it's an expansion of your home or the addition of a new family car, Peninsula Credit Union can provide fast, friendly service with terrific rates. We offer personal lines of credit, affordable auto loans, and a variety of home loan options to get you moving. Visit our offices in Shelton, Belfair, Paulsbo, Port Orchard, and Port Townsend, or go online to pcfcu.org. At Peninsula Credit Union, our priority is you.
Busted but not broken. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Packer reporting on sports. It looked like the Warriors were on their way to suffering their first losing streak until Draymond Green picked up the slack.
Livingston will throw it in. Baseline left. Holds the ball, waits, and finds Draymond wide open underneath the bucket for a layup.
On KNBR, despite a rough go of it for Steph Curry, Green finished with 24 points as the Warriors hold on to beat the Timberwolves 109-104. With a lot of off-the-court chatter surrounding LeBron James, he let his play do the talking Monday.
Here come the Cavaliers as LeBron takes an alley-oop from Jefferson and dunks.
WTAM with the call, 33 points and triple-double from LeBron give the Cavaliers their second straight Central Division title in a win over the Nuggets. The Hornets hand the Spurs a rare loss. The Pistons 92, Bucks 91 on an Andre Drummond tip-in. Celtics over the Magic, Bulls on top of the Kings, Pacers handle the Sixers, and Wizards and Grizzlies also winners on Monday. In a developing story in tennis, Raymond Moore has resigned as CEO of Indian Wells. Owner Larry Ellison announced the move one day after Moore said women's players ride men's coattails. Pittsburgh's basketball coach Jamie Dixon is headed back to his alma mater, TCU. Pitt's athletic director Scott Barnes said he knew where Dixon truly wanted to be, so they softened his buyout.
It wouldn't have been good for our program or student athletes or him and his family to hold him hostage.
The Tampa Bay Rays will engage in an unprecedented venture for Major League Baseball when they take on the Cuban national team. But for one player, the visit is more than just a historic one.
Outfielder Dayron Verona defected from Cuba through Haiti 3 years ago to play professional baseball in the U.S. With the Rays playing the Cuban national team, Verona gets a chance to finally go back home to see his family and friends, whom he hasn't seen or spoken to since he left the island. What makes it even more special? He'll be starting in right field and batting leadoff. He'll be the first player to bat in the game.
ABC's Chuck Siebertson, Dave Packer, ABC Sports.
John Cruz here with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Join us this weekend as we head to Hawaii. That's right. We're broadcasting from Turtle Bay Resort on the north shore of Oahu. We'll be talking surfing, kayaking, snorkeling, horseback riding, and all sorts of outdoor fun. So don't miss this special Hawaiian edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Saturdays at 9, Sundays at 10 on iFIBER One News Radio.
Now, from the all-new Gillis Auto Center Sports Desk, here's Jeff Slakey.
Thank you. Good morning. 6:35 on a Tuesday morning. LA Dodgers losers over the Mariners yesterday, 6-3, and a game heard here on iFIBER One News Radio. Here's one of the reasons for the big loss.
First pitch to Cruz, breaking ball, driven deep to left. There it goes, all the way back is Thompson, can't get it. 3-run homer for Nelson Cruz, the boomstick, with his second blast of the season in the Mariners. The 3-run shot take the lead at 5-3.
So 5-3 there, and as I mentioned, the final 6-3. Our next Mariners game is tomorrow against the Oakland A's at 7.
Kelsey Plum scored 32, and Washington shocked second seed Maryland 74-65 last night to reach the Sweet 16 of the women's NCAA tournament for the first time in 15 years. Seventh-seeded Huskies squeezed past Penn in the opening round for their first NCAA tournament victory since 2006. Gonzaga preparing for the Sweet 16 this week. Bulldogs face the Syracuse Orange on Friday. Zags are on the radio. We've got them for you this Friday. Pregame at 5:20, tip-off at 5:40. Ducks, on the other hand, working to get ready to play in their Sweet 16 round this Thursday. Ducks coming off a 69-64 win over St. Joseph's Hawks. Matched the school record of 30 victories set back in 1945. Good for the Ducks as they continue on. 6:37 here now at iFIBER One News Radio. And taking a look at the South Sound's forecast, here's Carol Gardner.
It's been a calm morning. Temps around the 40s, possible light showers. You might see the moon if you're out early, or later you might catch a great sunrise in about a half an hour. The afternoon looks to be partly sunny, but rain will begin to increase in the late afternoon. Highs will be in the mid-50s. Tomorrow starts about the same, a little drier, but by afternoon, wet and breezy. Right now, it's 42 in Shelton.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor, your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
.38 at iFIBER One News Radio. Good morning. I'm Jeff Slakey with Carol Gardner. Hello.
Good morning.
Got a great show for you today. 35th District Rep Dan Griffey coming on at 7:15. Also streaming audio and video this morning on iFiber1newsradio.com, on the Twitter at iFiber1Radio, and Facebook. Facebook.com/1030KMAS. As I mentioned, Dan Griffey at 7:15 talking about the special legislative session. And Rebecca Lawson from the Department of Ecology will be on talking about the meeting next week about the C Street landfill. It's the public meeting and hearing, which is going to be at the Mason County PUD3 Skookum Auditorium on Johns Prairie Road. Open house, public meeting, and public hearing will be happening on March 30th. News from around Washington this morning. Injuries from the Seattle Tunnel project result in nearly $750,000 in claims. Vice President seeing some cooperation during a tour of a Seattle Cancer Care Center. President Bill Clinton in Washington stumping for his wife before this weekend's Democratic caucuses. And a vessel was grounded on the Columbia yesterday. 6:39 right now. Steph had a hard time sleeping last night, Carol, and so she went downstairs. And when I went down this morning about 4 to start the day, ABC News was on, and she was watching a tragedy that was unfolding in Brussels. There was an explosion in the airport. The last reports that we heard, 28 or so killed, with many dozens injured. We'll have a status report from ABC News coming up in a little bit, and all that more before 7 o'clock right here on iFIBER One News Radio. 6:40 right now. We'll live the country life, and when we come back, we'll have some more news of note for you here on Daybreak.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Mason General Hospital and Family of Clinics continues to receive national recognition for its exceptional quality of care. Most recently being presented with an award for overall excellence and quality by the National Organization of States Offices of Rural Health. In February, Mason General was recognized for being an acute stroke-ready hospital, complete with telemedicine technology. These two awards come at the heels of the hospital's diagnostic imaging department receiving the American College of Radiology's gold standard for its MRI and CT programs, and MGH Olympic Physicians being recognized as a patient-centered medical home model for its highly coordinated patient-centered care. For details, see the March issue of Scope.
Mason General Hospital and Family of Clinics. Equal opportunity provider. Translation services provided.
Mason General and Family.
family athletics.
Look for the latest in local news at iFiber1newsradio.com.
Kill your weeds by blowing them to smithereens. Hi, I'm Jody Hankey. A technique known as weed blasting uses an air compressor and tiny pieces of grit to destroy them as you're living the country life.
Living the country life. Ideas and inspiration for your place in the country. You can find more information on today's topic and from previous shows by visiting us online at livingthecountrylife.com. We'll return to the show after these messages.
He's done 3 tours and now he's saving his dad's farm. Do you know a farmer veteran like that? We're inviting you to share their story. Successful Farming Magazine and Grasshopper Mowers are teaming up to acknowledge and thank farmer veterans for their service. This new initiative is called From Fighter to Farmer. Enter any veteran farmers you know in our contest at agriculture.com/fighter to farmer. Explain the veteran's military experience and farming operation, along with the involvement they have in your community. 3 veterans will receive a combination prize package of $5,000 and a vacation to Nashville. One lucky winner will also receive a $10,000 gift certificate to spend at Grasshopper Mowers. No purchase necessary. Open to legal residents of the 48 contiguous United States and D.C. 13 years and older. Begins February 1st, 2016 and ends April 30th, 2016. Subject to official rules at agriculture.com/fighter to farmer rules. Void in Alaska, Hawaii, and where prohibited. Sponsor, Meredith Corporation. From Fighter to Farmer is brought to you by Grasshopper Mowers. Enter any veteran farmer you know in our contest at agriculture.com/fighter to farmer.
If you've ever used a sandblaster, you know what it does to everything it hits. A researcher in Illinois has found a way to repurpose the sandblasting technique to kill weeds in vegetable crops. Sam Wortman is an assistant professor of crop sciences at the University of Illinois. He says organic grit is applied through a handheld siphon-fed sandblasting unit connected to a gas-powered air compressor. It's hauled down crop rows with a walk-behind tractor and aimed at the weeds.
It pretty much shreds them. The goal of the technology is to destroy the growing point of the weed. For broadleaf or dicot annual weeds, things like pigweed or lamb's quarters, the growing point in those weeds is right at the very top of the plant. And so those are very susceptible to weed blasting because it's very easy for us to shred that part of the plant.
The grit comes from a number of sources, such as ground up walnut shells, corn cobs, and soybean meal. It should be applied twice, 10 to 14 days apart for the best results. Blasted grit doesn't discriminate between weeds and crop seedlings, so Wortman says they're working on different nozzles to accommodate a wide range of crops.
If we're in a trellis tomato crop, we can angle the nozzles so that they're only applying on one side of the row. But we've also been working in broccoli and kale, which are grown sometimes in twin rows on raised beds. We can straddle that crop row, put the nozzles on the underbelly of the tractor, and aim those on both sides of the crop row so that it's more suitable for that particular cropping system.
Wortman says another benefit is the potential for growers to use organic fertilizers as blasting material. Farmers could control weeds and fertilize their crop in a single pass. Learn more about weed blasting at livingthecountrylife.com. I'll see you in the country.
Living the country life. Ideas and inspiration for your place in the country. You can find more information on today's topic, share your tips, and post photos by visiting us online.
iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
6:45. Good morning to you. Daybreak here at iFIBER One News Radio. What's the word you just said?
Barockward.
Barockward. Now that you see that photo that I was talking about here. So they had a press conference in Cuba, and I think it was Raul Castro's, maybe Fidel Castro's, maybe Cuba's first press conference. I mean, they do not do press conferences. Mm-hmm. This was a negotiated thing, and I think eventually our president said, I'm going out there, and the press will be there. I'm going to answer questions. You do what you like, Raul. So what I was saying is that the president got him out there, and now he had to answer some questions. Andrea Mitchell from MSNBC, I asked him a tough question about their human rights stuff, violations. And so they were kind of getting into it. And so Raul's out there on an island, literally. And so at the end of the thing, he raises the president's hand, says, you make me answer these questions, I'm going to make
a poor photo op opportunity. It is awesome.
I know. I don't think he meant to do that.
Nah, they sure didn't talk about it beforehand.
No, they didn't.
646 at iFIBER one. Barockward. Records show injuries suffered by workers on Seattle's downtown tunnel project last year resulted in about $750,000 in workers' comp claims. Contractors cited and fined twice in 2015 for safety violations. Review of worker safety records by the AP shows workers sustained injuries like amputated foots, a fractured hand, and a fingertip in a case crushed so badly it had to be surgically removed. Laura Newborn, spokeswoman for the DOT, says the tunnel contractor logged more than 1.2 million hours of work in 2015, and most of the comp claims were injuries that did not result in any time away from work.
Vice President Joe Biden toured a Seattle research facility Monday, saying scientists are at a turning point in their efforts to eliminate cancer. The tour is part of the White House's $1 billion proposal for a new initiative to cure cancer. Since the president's announcement during the State of the Union address in January, Biden has been visiting cancer researchers and advocates, and he toured the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, which is spearheading immunotherapy, a treatment that attempts to use a patient's own immune system to fight cancerous cells. Biden says he's encouraged by improved cooperation among the cancer research community. A 623, that's a hard number to say for
Yeah, I noticed that, though.
Over 600-foot bulk carrier ran aground in a narrow part of the Columbia River near Kathlamet, Washington. The Coast Guard says the vessel loaded with grain was heading west with a river pilot on board when it ran into trouble early Monday. The two tugboats are on the scene to help keep it stabilized. The vessel named Sparna also contains more than 200,000 gallons of high sulfur fuel and about 40,000 gallons of diesel.
Whoa.
Captain Dan Travers of the Port for the Columbia River says responders haven't seen any oil in the water and the cause of the incident remains under investigation.
Former President Bill Clinton was in Spokane and Vancouver yesterday, stumping for Hillary in the lead up to the Democratic caucuses this weekend. Spoke at Spokane and Vancouver over the weekend. Hillary has a lead of more than 300 delegates over Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Washington, Alaska, and Hawaii hold caucuses on Saturday. We've got 101 delegates at stake. Sanders also was in town over the weekend, and people in those cities as well as Seattle were feeling the burn. I am over there on the wa-democrats.org website, so the Washington State Democrats website. If you're looking for your caucus location, wa-democrats.org, you see right there at the top page, 2016 caucus, and then you fill out your pertinent information, and it lets you know. Good thing I checked, because I thought I would be going with Carol to Evergreen, because that's near where we live, but I was mistaken. So if you have moved, or maybe the caucus location has moved, if you're a Democrat in good standing, you can head over to demcaucus.com and find out where you will go. It is this Saturday at 10 in the morning. 6:50 now. The Old Farmer's Almanac is coming up. Marilyn Foster has the latest in local news coming up at 7:04. Propane leak on Sunday, and this week's aquaculture roundtable is in the news. A couple was arrested in a murder for hire plot in Yakima County, and some news on the Hanford cleanup program. Also, you might want to think twice if you're in the habit of having wine with dinner each night.
Red or white?
I mean, it just depends. I only recently found out that you shouldn't put red in the refrigerator.
Whoa. You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Almanac readers are sharing all kinds of ideas for making household items do double duty. We share some today on the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. With more practical tips and useful advice, this is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report for Tuesday, March 22nd, the 82nd day of the year. Actor William Shatner has a birthday, and America's first shopping mall opened on this day in 1954 in Southfield, Michigan. Do you use household tools for things other than their intended purpose? Here's a few double duty ideas Almanac readers have shared with us. A vegetable peeler or cheese grater works well to slice hard butter. If you make noodles from scratch, cut the strips with a pizza cutter. Dryer sheets make great air fresheners for the car. Stuff a few in the glove box or door pockets. And we've heard lots of recommendations for old washer or dryer drums. Readers are using them for everything from compost bins to worm farms. That is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. Learn more ways to renew, reuse, and recycle at almanac.com.
iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
6:52 on a Tuesday morning, and a good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey. We have ABC News coming up in 8 minutes or so, a CNBC Business Radio report as well at 6:58. The Yakima County Sheriff's Office says a couple who tried to hire a hitman to kill the woman's ex-husband has been arrested. The man and woman who live in Richland booked into the Yakima County Jail Saturday, suspicion of solicitation to commit murder. Sheriff's Office says an unidentified person contacted law officers saying the man wanted to hire someone to kill the woman's ex-husband who lives in Vancouver.
You know, I was talking to some people about how the news people say stories, suspicion of solicitation.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, even though obviously the only reason they got the guy is because he did contact the law officer. It did happen, but you still have to say suspicion.
I think, isn't that the charge, though, in the books? That's the charge.
Is that the charge? Suspicion of solicitation? But even though even the charge is not, it's not suspicious. He did it.
Oh, the charge.
Yeah, you didn't suspect that he did it. He actually did it, but until he's actually tried or whatever.
It's all alleged.
Yeah, it's all alleged. And some people were talking to me about how much alleged and all these roundabout words, because you have to be careful.
Oh, yeah, you have to. CYA, Carol. CYA. Allegedly. Officials have named a Port of Seattle attorney as the new manager of the Washington State office that helps regulate cleanup efforts at Hanford. Tri-City Herald reports the DOE, that's the Department of Ecology, their deputy director said in an announcement yesterday, attorney Alex Smith would take over for Jane Hedges, who retired at the end of February. Smith will start the job as a manager of the department's nuclear waste program in Richland on April 18th. There's been a lot of work. I know on King 5, they do that investigators deal. Mm-hmm. What's her name? Susanna Frame. How do I know these people's names? Susanna Frame. She's been an investigator for a long time and has brought a lot of light to this Hanford stuff. Pretty amazing.
You have a mind full of trivial.
I sure do.
Trivia, I mean.
6:54, Jeff Slakey and Carol Gardner with a CNBC Business Radio report in about 4 minutes. ABC News at the top of the hour. Mary Lynn Foster has more headlines for you as well. And you may want to think twice if you're in the habit of having these studies. I got to hear what Alex Stone has to say about this, because 1 week, everybody's supposed to drink a bunch of coffee and now it's going to be a problem. Then the next week is don't drink coffee. Now you have a cup of wine every night. Scratch that, a glass of wine every night. And then now you don't have a glass of wine every night. ABC's Dave Schreiber explains what the deal is here on this one.
In the past, countless studies praised the effects of having an alcoholic drink or wine with a meal. It now turns out that a drink a day does not keep the doctor away. A review of 87 studies by a team of scientists from the University of Victoria in Canada shows moderate drinking, such as a glass of wine at dinner, does not lead to better overall health and a longer life. Researchers call the evidence of previous findings shaky at best. Dave Schreiber, ABC News.
Shaky, but not stirred.
So that's not wine.
I know, it's a joke.
I'm just helping you with
an attempt at a joke.
Okay. So my thing with all these reports is you have to follow to who actually paid for the report.
Yeah.
And then you find out and plus people just pick out the stuff that they think makes a good news story.
Well, Darren Moody said it best last Thursday during our Focus on Shelton segment. I got some crime statistics for you. Mm-hmm. But if I were to give them to you in percentages, right, it would sound like the most craziest things ever. You're down 3 robberies, but on the grand scheme of things, it sounds like you're down robberies, 600%.
Right.
But that's not necessarily, you're right. Remember the other couple months ago, they came out and said, oh, you teetotalers, folks who have 0 drinks are at a high risk to die too.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's crazy. What are you
supposed to believe?
It goes right along with our nutrition month. I mean, everything in moderation and, whatever makes you, if you do something and it does not make you feel good.
Do you remember George Burns?
Then don't do it. Mm-hmm.
Remember that guy? George Burns was, oh God, you devil. Yeah. He was in all these movies. He smoked cigars every day.
Yeah.
I never saw a picture without him with a cigar. Yeah. There's this old lady, I saw a video of her. She was celebrating a 100th birthday. She has like a shot of whiskey every day.
Yeah, I think it just depends on, I think your attitude is more than anything. I'm actually, funny, I'm reading an autobiography about Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, man.
And I'm listening to an audiobook, and it's not really about his life. Him.
Dick Van Dyke voices his own autobiography?
And it's not really an autobiography. He's talking about aging and getting older. Oh. It's really interesting. He does throw in stuff about his youth, but he's 90, I think, when he wrote this. And he says his attitude towards life is, you can't just sit around and be grumpy and not move, basically.
Yeah.
Moving, laughing, having fun, seeing wonder.
Oh, man.
And he has ice cream every night with chocolate syrup.
I want to hang out with Dick Van Dyke.
I know. He sounds pretty fun.
Him and his brother, Jerry. Yeah. Remember Jerry Van Dyke from Coach?
His brother has some other health problems, but pretty same attitude.
Check that out.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
I'm Chris Maurer, CNBC Business Radio. Stocks opened sharply lower in reaction to the attacks in Belgium. At least 26 people were killed after bombs went off in a Brussels airport and a rush-hour metro train. Stocks in the travel sector, like airlines and hotels, are falling the most. The Dow's down 79 points, the Nasdaq lower by 18. Delta and United Airlines have rerouted flights headed to Brussels after today's deadly blasts. Ryanair has canceled all flights due to land there. Meantime, Starwood Hotels and Resorts says all of its hotels in Brussels were safe, but on lockdown along with the rest of the city. Citigroup says German tax authorities have opened up a probe over a stock trading strategy known as dividend stripping. That's when a now closed legal loophole, a stock is purchased just before its dividend rights expire, then sell it to allow both buyer and seller to claim tax credits.
If you wear uncomfortable boots, they'll end up hurting more than just your feet. They'll hurt your head when you stand up underneath the 2x4 because you're not paying attention. And they'll also hurt your pride when you get fired for accidentally knocking over a row of portable johns, which will hurt your chances of ever moving out of your mom's basement. When your feet hurt, your work suffers. So get the Timberland Pro Boondock Work Boot. Anti-fatigue technology and a 30-day comfort guarantee. Visit your local Timberland Pro retailer to get a pair.
Hey, Bob, how's business? Is the new website helping?
Not good. I can't figure out how to get the website finished. How did you do it?
Easy. I called web.com. They built my website for free. Then they promoted it on all the search engines.
Like Google, Yahoo, and Bing?
Exactly. And web.com has helped grow my business so much, I had to bring on new staff.
Hey, if web.com did it for you, they're perfect for me.
Call now, 1-800-535-8815. That's 1-800-535-8815. Again, 1-800-535-8815.
Tom Hartman is live and waiting your call. Weekdays from 9 to noon on iFIBER ONE News Radio. AM 1030, FM 1033. KMAS Shelton.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Karen Chase. The Eiffel Tower will be lit up in the colors of the Belgian flag tonight in a sign of solidarity with Brussels, the site of today's terror bombings, 2 at the airport and 1 at a metro station that killed at least 31 and injured dozens. Belgian ambassador to the U.S., Johan van Berbeke, called it a dark day.
This is an extremely troubling day for us in Belgium, as we have been confronted with simultaneous multiple attacks spread over the city.
Intelligence officials were concerned more attacks would happen after the arrest of a Paris terror attack suspect in Brussels. ABC's Alex Marquardt has that story.
They knew that he had an extensive support network. That's the only way that someone like him can hide for 4 months. That's the only way that someone like him can hide in the neighborhood where he grew up, found about 500 yards away from his family's home. So he had a very strong support network. We knew that, but now the authorities are saying that it's bigger than they originally thought, not just in terms of support, but in terms of logistics.
Security in major cities around the world is being tightened, including London, Paris, and New York. ABC's Scott Goldberg is there.
The Port Authority, which is in charge of security at airports, says travelers will notice highly visible anti-terror squads, and there also will be extra security on commuter lines coming into the city.
President Obama has been briefed on the bombings and is expected to make remarks about them in Cuba. ABC's Jonathan Karl is with the president.
He has a packed schedule here for the rest of the day, including later this morning an address that will be televised nationally here in Cuba to the Cuban people. And then he's attending a baseball game. Now, we have no indication from the White House that there will be any change to the president's schedule. In fact, he's leaving from here to go on to Argentina. But of course, when the president travels on these trips, he has his full national security apparatus with him.
And the director of a tennis tournament accused of making sexist remarks has resigned. This is ABC News.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. With a call to National Tax Helpline, you can stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. If you owe the IRS $10,000 or more, call now for free information and to see if you qualify. Take down the number now for the Tax Helpline, 800-708-4718. That's 800-708-4718 for free information. 800-708-4718. That's 800-708-4718.
It's time for the NFL's Rams to make their move. ABC's Ryan Burrow has the latest.
Back in LA. Dozens of semi-trucks have been moving Rams gear from St. Louis to Los Angeles for weeks now. By Thursday, the team expects to have everything moved out of its St. Louis facilities. The NFL in January approved the team's move back to Los Angeles after 21 seasons in St. Louis. Among those who won't be making the trip to L.A., a longtime groundskeeper and a high-ranking member of the public relations staff. The L.A. Rams will be holding cheerleader tryouts next month. Ryan Burrow, ABC News.
Police in Pennsylvania arrested a burglary suspect who they say, curiously, made himself at home in the house of his victims. The suspect was arrested when the family returned to their residence from vacation and found the strange man wearing their clothes, eating their food, even rearranging their furniture. They believe he settled in for at least 2 days before being discovered. They also found pills, alcohol, and cigarettes in the home that didn't belong to them. Karen Chase, ABC News.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. A leaking propane gas required the evacuation of several Lynch Road area neighbors, but ended without explosion or injuries Sunday. Mason County Fire District 4 Chief Bob Burbridge said firefighters who responded to the scene of the leaking tank evacuated about 8 homes in a half-mile radius of the tank as a safety precaution. Roadblocks were set up in the 3800 block of Lynch Road between Sells and Cole Roads, preventing about 30 residents on Phillips Road to return home until the tank's propane dissipated. The tank ran out of gas at about 10:30 p.m., and the site was cleared at around 11 p.m. Jennifer Beria from the Mason County EDC and George Sharp from Sharp Strategies and Solutions came on Daybreak Monday to talk about this week's kickoff roundtable with the various industries around the region in an effort to pinpoint what can be done to boost businesses within key segments of the economy. George was brought on by the EDC to serve as a roundtable facilitator, and he shared his experience.
I used to work for the Washington State Department of Commerce for 11 years, and then I worked for the Olympia Lacey Tumwater Visitor and Convention Bureau for 5 years, and I just started my own firm called Sharp Strategies and Solutions back in April.
Oh, wonderful.
So I did a lot of facilitation around the state for 11 years.
This week, aquaculture starts the roundtables.
So the first one is aquaculture. Washington is a huge producer. It's leaps and bounds over California and over Oregon. I think our revenue last year was pretty close to $1.3 billion. That's for the total for Washington. And so that's a big impact that we've got. We've got probably about 1,300 jobs in Washington that are directly supported by aquaculture. So that's your divers, that's your growers, that's your producers. All of those are rolled into that.
George shared what the goal of the discussions are.
What our goal is to come out with a strategic plan for each one of these industries as well. We'll also ask them what's going really well in the industry, what could go better. Is there anything that the industry should stop doing? Maybe technologies change or the customers change. Anything they should start doing because technologies change and the customers change. What are the resources they need to be successful? And that might not just be money, but education, those kind of resources that we can kind of align for the table. And then also, who else should they be partnering with? Maybe there's people that they haven't been aligned with because they didn't know that they were available. And that's our ultimate goal, is to come out with a strategic plan that helps the industry move forward.
He adds the first overall goal is to retain businesses in Mason County. Second is to help them grow and expand. And third is to find businesses to recruit to help make local businesses achieve even more success. Find more information about the roundtables on the EDC's website at choosemason.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
The Chad Benson Show.
How in the world are you going to pay for all that you want to do? And you can only tax people to a certain point. People who are smart, guess what? They get sick and tired of it, and they find other ways to do stuff. All of a sudden, you go from having a certain percentage of something to 100% of nothing.
The Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, live weekdays 3 to 6 on iFIBER One News Radio.
Hi, I'm Ken Slater, the Roof Doctor. If you're like me, your family's important, so make sure that they're well taken care of. One of the best ways to do that is to provide a safe and warm home to live in. For over 50 years, the Roof Doctor has been helping families stay safe and warm by building roofs that last for generations. Our teams have some of the most experienced roofers in the area, and we only use the highest quality materials to keep your family safe, warm, and dry. That's the Roof Doctor. Give us a call.
Now, from the all-new Gillis Auto Center Sports Desk, here's Jeff Slakey.
Thank you. Good morning. Big win for the Mariners last night.
First pitch to Cruz. Breaking ball driven deep to left. There it goes. All the way back is Thompson. Can't get it. 3-run homer for Nelson Cruz, the boomstick, with his second blast of the season in the Mariners. The 3-run shot take the lead at 5-3.
Final score yesterday, 6-3. Mariners beating the Dodgers. Our next Mariners game is tomorrow against the Athletics of Oakland at 7 p.m. Moving on to the NCAA tournament, start with the women's tournament. Kelsey Plum scored 32. Washington shocked second-seeded Maryland 74-65 last night, reaching the Sweet 16 of the women's NCAA tournament for the first time in 15 years. Gonzaga in men's basketball preparing for their Sweet 16 this week. Bulldogs face Syracuse Orange on Friday. Zags, despite their number 11 seed, were not underdogs in the opening lines of the first two games. It was pretty much a pick-em against Utah and 1-point favorites against Seton Hall. I feel like they were given that 11 seed because of kind of the bubble that they were on. If they had not won the WCC tournament, they most likely would have not been invited into the NCAA tournament. And so that's kind of, I think, where they were. But they are a good team and not really an 11 seed. We've got the game, but these seeds don't really matter. We saw 15s beat 2s. We've got the game for you this Friday. Pregame at 5:20, tip-off at 5:40. The Oregon Ducks are working to get ready to play Duke this Thursday in the Sweet 16. They beat the St. Joe's Hawks 69-64. It's 7:10 at iFIBER One News Radio, and checking the South Sounds forecast. Here is Carol Gardner.
It's a calm morning so far. Temps around the 40s, possible light showers. You might have seen the moon, or you might catch the sunrise happening about now. The afternoon looks to be partly sunny, but rain will begin and increase in the late afternoon. Highs will be in the mid-50s. Tomorrow starts about the same time, a little drier, but by afternoon, wet and breezy. Right now, it's 42 in Shelton.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, It's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South South's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
7:11 here at iFIBER ONE News Radio. Good morning. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Hello, Carol.
Hello, Jeffrey.
Got a great show for you. Coming up in just a couple of moments, 35th District Representative Dan Griffey will be on talking about things that are happening in the legislature. You know, we're streaming audio and video this morning on iFIBER1newsradio.com. Also follow along with us on the Twitter at iFIBER1 Radio and Facebook at 1030 KMAS. You can get our local news in your news feed on the Facebook. You get on there a lot these days?
On Facebook? On my personal Facebook, no. I'm more on, I suppose, the business Facebook.
No, yeah, I'm very rarely on my personal one anymore. But they have this thing, these memories.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yeah, because one came up the other day about something that happened, which was just like a mundane statement that I had said to my sister. And it was just nothing. And it said, a great memory for you guys for 2 years ago or something like that. It's just like we were talking about the road something or other. It was just like, what in the world is that all about?
Some of those memories are good. It's creepy that they've got 7-10 years of your life basically on Mondays. You can see, or Tuesdays over the history. It helped me out the other day though. I needed to know a date and I knew I was close to it, but these memories showed up. And then I looked back and I thought, oh, I remember that.
Some things you want to forget.
Some things I shouldn't have posted that one.
Well, you can take those off.
It's always on the internet.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Here comes Obamacare, the biggest change in the tax code in 20 years. I'm ABC's Richard Davies with today's tax tip. This year's tax season marks the first time you'll be asked for information regarding your health insurance. Eric Smith of the IRS says for most people, this will be a non-issue.
For more than 3 out of 4 taxpayers, the change will involve just simply checking a box on your return.
That box indicates that you had health coverage and most likely through your employer. Others who bought government-backed health care and received a tax credit to help them pay for it will have to account for whether they calculated correctly. Kathy Pickering of H&R Block says there'll either be a payment or a refund.
When they come in to file their taxes, now they're reconciling how they estimated their income to what their actual income is.
The IRS says if you're low income and not required to file a tax return, you don't have to buy health coverage. But for those who could afford it and chose not to, they'll get a fine. With today's tax tip, Richard Davies, ABC News.
Wittenberg CPA is a professional accounting, tax, and financial consulting firm serving the diverse needs of their businesses and individual clients. They bring excellence and integrity to every aspect of their work, from accounting software support like QuickBooks to tax preparation for individual and business needs, as well as personal, financial, and estate planning services. Wittenberg CPA has the services you or your business needs this year for taxes. Find them online at wittenbergcpa.com or call 426-0230. That's 426-0230.
If you care about what's going on around here, subscribe to the Shelton Mason County Journal. You will learn something useful about your neighborhood, upcoming events, your community, and coworkers. Laugh at the comics. Cry with the obituaries. Learn about local concerts, games, and new businesses. Being informed is worth it in so many ways. Subscribe today. Call 360-426-4412 or visit masoncounty.com. Check out the Journal's garage sales, too. Try it. You'll love it.
iFIBER ONE News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
$7:15 at iFIBER ONE News Radio, Daybreak with Jeff and Carol, and on the air with us this morning, 35th District Representative Dan Griffey. Morning, Dan.
Good morning. How are you two?
Good morning.
Doing well. Good to see you in studio talking about the special session. And Not so special session? Not so special session, as it's still going. We're still ongoing. We are still in special session, absolutely. And so what have you been hearing? Well, I hear some pretty substantiated rumors that we might be coming to a budget deal. That's the big sticky wicket. We also have to figure out what we're going to do with the governor's vetoed bills. I'm kind of pushing that we override some of his vetoes. I think it's good every once in a while for the legislature to reassert its constitutional authority. So that's what I'm working on with regard to those. If not, we can just repass them and send them to the governor's desk. If you look at his veto letters to the legislature, it said, this is a good piece of legislation. However, I think you should pass the budget first, so I'm going to veto it. So it doesn't even sound like he thinks the bills are bad. And as I talked about last week, there are some very good bills for jobs in our area that we really need to pass. The Marine Advisory Council is something that I think for our shellfish industry, we really have to have. I mean, he signed 10 of these bills. Yeah. I think vetoed some 27 or so. Yeah. So he, I mean, already kind of went against what he was saying there with the, I'm going to veto everything if you guys don't do stuff. Yeah, it would look pretty bad. Some of them were significant public safety bills having to do with sexual assaults and crimes against usually females, but, you know, it doesn't have to be exclusively female. But, yeah, he would look really silly if he vetoed those public safety votes. Although, like I mentioned last week, there was I think a very good public safety bill that he didn't sign into law. He must have missed it. That auto dealership that has 200 auto dealers in one building no secretary, and there's a phone number, but nobody answers it. You know, with Washington State being very high, sometimes number one, sometimes number two in property crimes, it's time we really do something about it. And I think this bill was getting really kind of at the core of some of the stuff, stealing cars and chopping them.
So the two options are the legislature can override the governor's veto or you guys would just repass the bills. Yeah, if we override the governor's veto, it's done. It's law. If the governor takes no action on the bill after 20 days, it becomes law. And then we can re-refer the bills, repass them, and send them to the governor as well. Why would the governor even need to sign them if you guys can just override them? Well, it's political. I think there's some that may not like the governor to appear to be weak, so they won't allow a override vote to come forward. I think it doesn't matter what governor's in the office. It's important for the legislature to exercise its constitutional authority every once in a while, just to keep the rules honest. You mentioned maybe some good news on the budget. So you say that these are rumors. These are rumors. Allegedly. Yes. Allegedly. These are pretty good rumors, but they're rumors. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. I pride myself on total honesty all the time, and that's what I know. We are going to have a staff meeting, a phone-in staff meeting again tonight at 5 o'clock. And maybe, again, you could ask Drew tomorrow when he's on how that staff meeting went. It's terrible that staff meetings happen. I wish they would happen on Mondays. That way I could give the report. But Now you can. Now we'll ask next year. Drew. You can change your day. Yeah, it would be nice if they change. I'll go to Wednesday. Drew can be out Tuesday. You mentioned that. So when the negotiations are going on right now, it is the leaders in the House and the Senate on both sides, and they normally don't work on the weekends. Yeah, it was pretty significant that they worked all weekend. I mean, they worked Saturday and Sunday. We went to the Republican convention on Saturday down in Thurston County, and our budget negotiators weren't there, and that was a good sign. Okay. Very good sign. Okay. So I think we're there. I hope we're there. Hopeful. I really do hope we're there. I hate it. I don't want people to think this is a vacuum situation, but it's really best that we appoint our budget negotiators so we don't have everybody in the room. In any negotiations, some sides are going to be happy about some things and they're not going to be so happy about others, and that's kind of the crux to negotiations. Nobody can win everything. I think you're at a good place when 50% don't like it and 50% like it. That's probably a good, place. Going back to the bills that the governor vetoed before the end of the regular session, if you were to override them, we understand that it's a 2/3 majority, but if you're going to repass them, how would that work
like in a timeline wise, would you guys make the announcement that the budget has been agreed upon and then resubmit the bills, or pass everything first?
Well, what would happen is we would probably just do a whirlwind day and just pass everything, including the budget, and it would go to the governor's desk.
I mean, you're not there's no minutes on the floor to talk about these issues. You're just up for a revote. Right?
These would be really quick. It'd be a very short speech. Good bill, vote yes. We would concur, or they would concur. Good bill, vote yes. We already voted on it. It came out 96-0. Let's do it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to have
renegotiating on.
Yeah, we have to have a recorded vote on. Now, with that being said, everything's up. We could run new bills. Sure. It's a special session. We could go back to committee. I mean, I don't want to see that happen, but it could happen. We were urged to not run any new bills, and I think it's goodwill not to run new bills. They probably wouldn't get a hearing anyway. And all my bill ideas for next year will start as soon as the gavel falls on sine die, the second sine die, and I'll pre-file those bills.
You said you were at the Thurston County or the state Republican?
Thurston County Republican Convention.
How did it turn out? What was the turnout like?
150. Yeah, somewhere around there. It was pretty good turnout.
Good stuff. So the Democrat caucus is this weekend, and then the Republican primary is in a few weeks, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking of primaries, have you heard the news about the Secretary of State would like to do a kind of a West Coast primary setup? No. It's a really neat idea. So if basically she would like to get almost the entire West Coast, probably 20 states involved in a super primary. What would be so good about that is we would finally see presidential candidates, more presidential candidates. That would be really neat for Washington State. It would be something that I support, and we get some of the primaries over sooner.
Yeah,
and again, a little bit of more attention over here on the West Coast and Washington State, I think, is a good thing. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, it's a really good thing.
Oh, that would be something. So everybody kind of gathers together and says, we're doing it on this day, and we're the Super Tuesday.
Yeah. Yes.
No more Southern Super Tuesday.
I would really like it if the Democrats allocated their electors by primary. You have to declare on your primary ballot whether you're declaring Democrat or Republican. So I think the process is okay. And
aren't the names for the Democrats on the ballot anyway?
They are absolutely. So the Republicans are allocating their electors or their delegates by the primary. The Secretary of State tried to do a couple things for us last year. She tried to say, if you're not going to allocate your electors or your delegates by primary, then let's don't spend the money to run a primary. Let's just do the caucuses and then the conventions. I thought that was a very good idea, cost savings measure, but they're just using it as advisory. A little disappointing. It's disappointing to spend that kind of money. So the Republicans decided, since we're spending the money, we'll allocate our delegates by the primary results, and they will be proportional in Washington State.
Because you guys had the GOP caucus a couple weeks ago, but you did more business.
Yeah, that's basically to elect who's going to go to convention in Mason County, and then from Mason County, who's going to go on the state convention.
Interesting. So some good news there. All right, Dan. Well, 35th District Representative Dan Griffey in with some hopeful good news about a possibility that maybe we're getting close.
Yes, pretty much.
Hopeful, possible, and maybe.
Yes. I'm sorry. I do not have better. I really wish I did.
That's how we work around here.
Yeah.
Possible, hopeful, maybe.
I like to give positives, and I don't like giving you this information.
It's a tough one, but we got to do it. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
Next week as well. 7:25 here, iFIBER One News Radio. We'll come back, update you on some of the stories from the Northwest, and also see if there's any latest information about the attack that happened in Brussels during the overnight.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
There are special services this weekend at churches in the area. PUD 3 believes church attendance gives the Easter holiday special meaning. See you in church. PUD 3 wishes you the happiest Easter ever.
Castle and Coleman Logging hopes your home is full of the joy of Easter this weekend. They hope you're sharing this special time with family and friends. Castle and Coleman Logging sends every good wish for a happy Easter.
Hi, this is Terry Allen with a look at the community calendar on iFIBER One News Radio. Nonprofits post your upcoming events on iFIBER1newsradio.com. The Mason County Senior Activity Center sponsors Bingo Karaoke at the Shelton Pavilion Friday the 25th from 7 to 10. Lots of excitement and humor in this mixture of bingo games and singing. Beverages and snacks. Doors open at 6 p.m. for adults 21 and up. This month's theme, Crazy Hats. For iFIBER One News Radio, I'm Terry Allen.
iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
Hey, good morning to you. It's Daybreak here, 7:27. I'm Jess Leckie along with Carol Gardner. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Marilyn Foster in 3 minutes from right now. During the overnight, there was an attack in Brussels. ABC News now provides with updates and the latest information.
In his address to the Cuban people from Havana, President Obama said the world must stand together against the scourge of terrorism. Earlier, the president telephoned Belgium's prime minister to offer condolences for the horrific Brussels bombings at the airport and train station that killed at least 31 and injured nearly 200. French President Francois Hollande said terrorists struck Brussels, but it was Europe that was targeted. Meanwhile, security is being beefed up in major cities worldwide. ABC's Pierre Thomas tells us investigators are closely monitoring social media for chatter.
You have to have the intelligence beforehand. That's why you have this extensive campaign by the FBI looking at social media, looking at people who might be inspired by ISIS. And one thing that's happened in the last 6 months or so, the FBI went from seeing people who were simply trying to travel to Syria to join ISIS, and increasingly people who were planning to do things here that they believe they stopped.
The Eiffel Tower tonight will light up in the colors of the Belgian flag in solidarity. Karen Chase, ABC News.
7:28 here at iFIBER News Radio. We'll continue to provide you those updates throughout the morning, and live coverage nationally comes with Tom Hartman's show at 9:06 this morning with Dave Ramsey, continuing on Chad Benson, and into the evening with our programming. Mary Lynn Foster has the latest in local news in just a couple of moments, and we'll talk about ABC Sports as well. We're getting ready for some more NCAA basketball this weekend with Gonzaga Bulldogs taking on the Orange of Syracuse Friday night, 5:20 for that pregame, and 5:40 will be the tip-off. There's some other stories from around the Northwest that we're looking at and passing along, including a story coming out of Yakima with a couple and a for-hire story. Let's see if I can get that up right now here. Yakima County Sheriff's Office is a couple who tried to hire a hitman to kill the woman's ex-husband arrested. Man and woman live in Richland, booked into the Yakima County Jail Saturday on suspicion of solicitation to commit murder. Sheriff's Office says an unidentified person contacted law officers saying someone wanted to hire someone to kill the woman's ex-husband who lives in Vancouver. It's 7:30 here now at iFIBER One News Radio. Mary Lynn Foster has the latest in local news. We'll be right back after that with ABC Sports. Carol checking on the weather as well.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Local news is brought to you by Fred Holmes Tree Service. FredHolmesTreeService.com, 427-4489.
From the iFIBER One News Radio studios, I'm Mary Lynn Foster. A leaking propane gas required the evacuation of several Lynch Road area neighbors, but ended without explosion or injuries Sunday. Mason County Fire District 4 Chief Bob Burbridge said firefighters who responded to the scene of the leaking tank evacuated about 8 homes in a half-mile radius of the tank as a safety precaution. Roadblocks were set up in the 3800 block of Lynch Road between Sells and Cole Roads. preventing about 30 residents on Phillips Road to return home until the tank's propane dissipated. The tank ran out of gas at about 10:30 p.m., and the site was cleared at around 11 p.m. Jennifer Beria from the Mason County EDC and George Sharp from Sharp Strategies and Solutions came on Daybreak Monday to talk about this week's kickoff roundtable with the various industries around the region in an effort to pinpoint what can be done to boost businesses within key segments of the economy. George was brought on by the EDC to serve as a roundtable facilitator, and he shared his experience.
I used to work for the Washington State Department of Commerce for 11 years, and then I worked for the Olympia Lacey Tumwater Visitor and Convention Bureau for 5 years, and I just started my own firm called Sharp Strategies and Solutions back in April.
Oh, wonderful.
So I did a lot of facilitation around the state for 11 years.
This week, aquaculture starts the roundtables.
So the first one is aquaculture. Washington is a huge producer. It's leaps and bounds over California and over Oregon. I think our revenue last year was pretty close to $1.3 billion. That's for the total for Washington. And so that's a big impact that we've got. We've got probably about 1,300 jobs in Washington that are directly supported by aquaculture. So that's your divers, that's your growers, that's your producers. All of those are rolled into that.
George shared what the goal of the discussions are.
What our goal is to come out with a strategic plan for each one of these industries as well. We'll also ask them what's going really well in the industry, what could go better. Is there anything that the industry should stop doing? Maybe technologies change or the customers change. Anything they should start doing because technologies change and the customers change. What are the resources they need to be successful? And that might not just be money, but education, those kind of resources that we can kind of align for the table. And then also, who else should they be partnering with? Maybe there's people that they haven't been aligned with because they didn't know that they were available. And that's our ultimate goal, is to come out with a strategic plan that helps the industry move forward.
He adds the first overall goal is to retain businesses in Mason County. Second is to help them grow and expand. And third is to find businesses to recruit to help make local businesses achieve even more success. Find more information about the roundtables on the EDC's website at choosemason.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
This is Doug Sample from Whitney Chevrolet. Taxes are on everyone's mind. Make the most of your tax refund at Whitney Chevrolet in Montesano, where the sales tax is lower than most places in the state. Plus, other dealers' factory costs are more because they roll into the cost of the advertising. We don't do that, but we do offer lifetime oil changes on every new and used vehicle. Stop by or visit WhitneyChev.com.
A $150 negotiable document fee may be added to the price of all vehicles.
Worth the drive to Whitney's, just down the road to Whitney's.
Well, the Mariners have been down in the desert for a few weeks now.
Goodbye baseball, onto the berm, Robbie Cadeau.
The vets are sounding good, and the rookies are looking to make the cut. Before too long, it will be opening day. And iFIBER One News Radio is your home for Seattle Mariners baseball all season long. You can listen on AM 1030 or FM 103.3. The South Sound home for Mariners baseball this season is iFIBER One News Radio, AM 1030 or FM 103.3.
Stid but not broken. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Packer reporting on sports. It looked like the Warriors were on their way to suffering their first losing streak until Draymond Green picked up the slack. Livingston will throw it in. Baseline left. Holds the ball, waits, and finds Draymond wide open underneath the bucket for a layup. On KNBR, despite a rough go of it for Steph Curry, Green finished with 24 points as the Warriors hold on to beat the Timberwolves 109-104. With a lot of off-the-court chatter surrounding LeBron James, he let his play do the talking Monday. Here come the Cavaliers as LeBron takes an alley-oop from Jefferson and dunks. WTAM with the call, 33 points and triple-double from LeBron give the Cavaliers their second straight Central Division title in a win over the Nuggets. The Hornets hand the Spurs a rare loss. The Pistons 92, Bucks 91 on an Andre Drummond tip-in. Celtics over the Magic, Bulls on top of the Kings, Pacers handle the Sixers, and Wizards and Grizzlies also winners on Monday. In a developing story in tennis, Raymond Moore has resigned as CEO of Indian Wells. Owner Larry Ellison announced the move one day after Moore said women's players ride men's coattails. Pittsburgh's basketball coach Jamie Dixon is headed back to his alma mater, TCU. Pitt's athletic director Scott Barnes said he knew where Dixon truly wanted to be, so they softened his buyout.
It wouldn't have been
good for our program, our student athletes, or him and his family to hold him hostage.
The Tampa Bay Rays will engage in an unprecedented venture for Major League Baseball when they take on the Cuban national team. But for one player, the visit is more than just a historic one.
Outfielder Dayron Verona defected from Cuba through Haiti 3 years ago to play professional baseball in the U.S. With the Rays playing the Cuban national team, Verona gets a chance to finally go back home to see his family and friends, whom he hasn't seen or spoken to since he left the island. What makes it even more special? He'll be starting in right field and batting leadoff. He'll be the first player to bat in the game.
ABC's Chuck Siebertson, Dave Packer, ABC Sports.
Now, from the all-new Gillis Auto Center Sports Desk, here's Jeff Slakey.
7:36 at iFIBER One News Radio. Good morning to you. Tuesday here, the 22nd of March. Just a couple days into spring, and Carol's got a great forecast for you coming up in a little bit. This gets you ready, though, for spring and summer.
First pitch to Cruz. Breaking ball driven deep to left. There it goes. All the way back is Thompson. Can't get it. 3-run homer for Nelson Cruz. The boomstick with his second blast of the season in the Mariners. The 3-run shot take the lead at 5-3.
So the Mariners continue their winning ways. The final score, they added another run in there, and it was 6-3, the final. Our next Mariners game is coming up tomorrow night at 7:10 is the first pitch, with the pregame there at 7. Women's NCAA basketball. Congrats go to Washington, who shocked second-seeded Maryland 74-65 last night to reach the Sweet 16 of the Women's NCAA tournament. And this is the first time in 15 years. So good on them. Gonzaga prepping for their Sweet 16 game this week. Bulldogs facing the Orange of Syracuse Friday. Pre-game at 5:20, tip-off at 5:40 this Friday night. Ducks, working to get ready to play Duke this Thursday in the Sweet 16. They're coming off a 69-64 win over the St. Joe's Hawks, matching their school record of 30 victories set way back 1945. So we've got some great baseball and basketball for you. If Gonzaga wins Friday, they will play on Sunday in the Elite Eight. Is that right? Yeah, I guess so. If they're playing the Sweet 16, they win, they'll play in the Elite Eight on Sunday.
We got still 3.
We still have 3 of our 4 in the Final Four. Carol and I have picked Baylor, unfortunately. Baylor and the Hoosiers to go to the final game. Hoosiers still in it.
Yeah,
they picked up Jimmy Chetwood. They're doing the picket fence, friend of years, friend of tears, and the Hoosiers are coming on strong. I'm sure they won't. They may.
They may.
Knock on wood.
Good morning. It's been calm so far. Temps around the 40s, possible light showers. You might have seen the moon earlier. It'll be full officially tomorrow, and it's the worm moon in March. The afternoon looks to be partly sunny, but rain will begin and increase in the late afternoon and highs in the mid-50s. Tomorrow starts about the same, a little drier, but by afternoon, wet and breezy. And right now it's 42 in Shelton.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You, from business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
7:39 at iFiber1newsradio.com. Rebecca Lawson calling in. We're going to be talking with her in about an hour, 8:45, about next week's C Street landfill cleanup public meeting and hearing, which is going to be at the PUD3 Skookum Auditorium next week. Gets started at 5:30 with an open house where you can talk with project members for discussion and check out some documents, also a public meeting, and then the hearing should last until about 8:30. Again, we'll talk with Rebecca Lawson from Department of Ecology coming up at 8:45. You said worm moon, W-O-R.
Yes, those squiggly little things. Worm moon.
Okay, what is a worm moon?
So, well, I mean, it makes sense at this time of spring. the ground begins to soften and earthworm casts reappear, inviting the return of robins. So sort of the cycle of life if somebody didn't use any kind of, pesticide on their lawn.
Now, wait a second. I know you're talking about me. I actually saw
generally
a beautiful robin redbreast on my front lawn.
All right. So you didn't kill the worm.
Picking out a bunch of worms.
All right. I'm just giving you a bad time
I think
anyway.
that supposedly they're not harmful to animals, to critters.
To crustaceans. So also some people call it the sap moon, which when the maple sap begins to flow, which is, the annuals happening to this maple sap. I love maple syrup. It would be fun to go tap a maple tree. Ours around here, I do not believe, allegedly, I don't think they are the ones that you can get maple syrup from. You need the sweet trees, and back east they grow those. I don't know for sure. I have never done it, but otherwise it'd be a big market here.
Oh, it would be a huge market. Now, do they really stick a spout in the tree like I've seen on the TV? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. Wow. And there's family secrets and, you have your spot where you get your maple syrup and nobody gets there. It's pretty interesting.
So you don't think that the maple trees here can do that? That'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I don't think they're... somebody may hopefully tell me,
You can email us, daybreak@ifiber1.com.
Or it may be something about the winters don't get cold enough to create the sugars. Maybe that's what it is.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm not sure. Somebody more of an expert in the maple field. I'm more of an expert in the worm field, I suppose.
I'm an expert in eating maple syrup.
Yeah, 100% maple syrup. That's the way to go.
Seattle Tunnel Project has resulted in about $700,000 in comp claims. And VP Joe Biden was in the Great Northwest. We'll tell you those stories and give you an update on Brussels after this.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
There's nothing like the look and feel of a real newspaper. Award-winning writers and design, voted one of the best newspapers in Washington, the Mason County Journal has the news, opinion, and information you want. Full of colorful photos and great-looking ads, share it with family and friends. No electricity required. Look for us at over 80 locations throughout the county or visit masoncounty.com. The Mason County Journal, a big part of this wonderful place we call home.
Wittenberg CPA is a professional accounting, tax, and financial consulting firm serving the diverse needs of their businesses and individual clients. They bring excellence and integrity to every aspect of their work, from accounting software support like QuickBooks to tax preparation for individual and business needs, as well as personal, financial, and estate planning services. Wittenberg CPA has the services you or your business needs this year for taxes. Find them online at wittenbergcpa.com or call 426-0230. That's 426-0230.
Sometimes GPS lets you down. Always have a map handy in the glove box. And that's an easy thing to do with Mass Marketing Maps. These maps are free. Pick one up today at West Realty in Hoodsport, Mountain View Licensing on Wallace Neyland, at the Agate Store, and at iFiber One News Radio. So the next time technology lets you down, be prepared with a new map from Mass Marketing. Need a ride? Call 426-8294. Mason County Taxi, 426-8294. Anytime, anywhere. Call when you need a quick, affordable ride. 426-TAXI, 426-8294.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
iFiber One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
7:45 at iFiber One News Radio. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Good morning to you, Carol.
Good morning, Jeff.
Nice day here. A couple days after the first official day of spring. 623-foot bulk carrier ran aground in a narrow part of the Columbia River near Cathlamet. U.S. Coast Guard says the vessel loaded with grain heading west with a river pilot still on board ran into trouble early yesterday. Two tugs are on the scene to keep it from tipping. The vessel's named Sparna, and it also additionally contains 200,000 gallons of high sulfur fuel and about 40,000 gallons of diesel. The captain for the Port of Columbia River says responders have not seen any oil in the water. Thankfully, they are under investigation still. Vice President Joe Biden toured a Seattle research facility yesterday, saying scientists are at a turning point in their efforts to eliminate cancer. Tour is part of the White House's billion-dollar proposal for a new initiative to cure cancer. Since the president made that announcement at the State of the Union that Biden would be the one in charge of curing it for us, the U.S., the vice president's son, Bo, died of brain cancer last year at the age of 46. Joe has been visiting cancer research centers and advocates. He was at Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center, which is spearheading immunotherapy, a treatment that attempts to use a patient's own immune system to fight cancerous cells. Biden says he's encouraged by improved cooperation among the cancer research community.
Records show injuries suffered by state workers on Seattle's downtown tunnel project last year resulted in about $700,000 in workers' compensation claims. The contractor is cited and fined twice in 2015 for safety violations, and a review of worker safety records by the AP shows workers sustained injuries like an amputated foot, fractured hand, and a fingertip crushed so badly it had to be surgically removed. Spokesperson for the Washington State Department of Transportation said the tunnel contractor logged more than 1 million hours of work in 2015, and most of the workers' compensation claims were for injuries that didn't result in time away from work. And former President Bill Clinton was in Spokane and Vancouver yesterday to campaign for his wife, Hillary Clinton, in the run-up for the Washington's Democratic caucuses. That's going to take place this weekend. Bill Clinton will speak at Spokane Falls Community College, and he spoke at Clark College in Vancouver. Hillary Clinton has a lead of more than 300 delegates over Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders in the race. And that's following the presidential nomination from primaries and caucuses that was a sweep of 5 states last Tuesday. So Washington, Alaska, and Hawaii will hold Democratic caucuses this Saturday. Washington has the most delegates, about 101. Sanders spoke to large crowds also this week in Washington State.
Hey, we just talked with 35th District Representative Dan Griffey about the current special session that we're in, but then he also mentioned something kind of interesting about potentially looking ahead to the future elections, with these primaries and caucuses, and now, the president's, we'll start with the GOP then. So there was, 17 presidential hopefuls at the beginning of this process. Now we're down to 3, Trump, Cruz, and Kasich. And if at all, which I'm not sure, they have spent almost zero time here in the great state.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any
of them. Any of the 14 others who've already dropped out. So if we were able to, and there's a thing called the Western Governors Association, where all the Western governors are get together. Right. Something similar patchwork to that, where if we tell the candidates, hey, we're part of this process. Let's get involved here. We are going to band together, all have our stuff on the same day, and then we would be like a Super Tuesday kind of deal. I think it's a great idea. Yeah. And I watch these people in New Hampshire, and there's 10,000 people in the whole state of New Hampshire, allegedly. And you can go to any street corner before the New Hampshire primaries or caucuses and meet these candidates. And it's just such a great part of democracy to be out there and actually look them in the eye. You can get a sense for what they're like seeing them on TV or hearing them in interviews, but until you can look them in the eye, you really have no idea.
I know. In this day and age, you'd think that the West Coast would be more apt to, you'd want to get out here and try to talk to the people. I mean, it's not like it's the Wild West. Well, maybe. And, it takes, a long train ride to get out here.
Sure. It's not like it used to be. And there's so many, if you want to put California in play, it's been voted, since I think Reagan in the 80s. But before that, if you want to put it in play, you got to come out here.
Yeah, you got to talk to the people.
Press the flesh.
Yep.
So that would be kind of cool looking ahead to that maybe in next couple of years. 7:50 this weekend are the Democratic caucuses, and at wa-democrats.org you can find the links to figure out where your caucus will be. If you check it out, you may have gone 4 years ago, you may have gone 8 years ago, and you may have moved since then, or the location has moved since then. So fill out this information. It was pretty easy. I just typed in my name and it found me and found my caucus location. And I think you just have to be 18 by election day and consider yourself a Democrat, but I don't even know if that matters. You could probably just put in anything and see how it shakes out. 7:51 here at iFIBER ONE News Radio. The Old Farmer's Almanac is coming up next. There's a for-hire case in Yakima County we'll tell you about. That's all coming up next on Daybreak.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Almanac readers are sharing all kinds of ideas for making household items do double duty. We share some today on the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. With more practical tips and useful advice, this is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report for Tuesday, March 22nd, the 82nd day of the year. Actor William Shatner has a birthday, and America's first shopping mall opened on this day in 1954 in Southfield, Michigan. Do you use household tools for things other than their intended purpose? Here's a few double duty ideas Almanac readers have shared with us. A vegetable peeler or cheese grater works well to slice hard butter. If you make noodles from scratch, cut the strips with a pizza cutter. Dryer sheets make great air fresheners for the car. Stuff a few in the glove box or door pockets. And we've heard lots of recommendations for old washer or dryer drums. Readers are using them for everything from compost bins to worm farms. That is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. Learn more ways to renew, reuse, and recycle at almanac.com.
iFIBER ONE News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
At 7:52 here at iFIBER ONE News Radio. Good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner, streaming audio and video on iFIBER1NewsRadio.com. Also, you can follow us on the Twitter at iFIBER ONE Radio and Facebook.com/1030KMAS. From the Department of Ecology, Rebecca Lawson coming up at 8:45. ABC News is in about 7 minutes. And Carol, we mentioned a story coming out of Yakima this morning.
Yeah, the Yakima County Sheriff's Office says a couple who tried to hire a hitman to kill the woman's ex-husband has been arrested. The man and women who live in Richland were booked into the Yakima County Jail Saturday on suspicion of solicitation to commit murder. The sheriff's office says an unidentified person contacted law officers saying the man wanted to hire someone to kill the woman's ex-husband who lives in Vancouver.
Officials have named a Port of Seattle attorney as the new manager of the Washington State office that will help regulate cleanup efforts at Hanford. Tri-City Herald reports the DOE deputy director said in an announcement yesterday, attorney Alex Smith would take over for Jane Hedges, who retired at the end of February. Smith starting the job as manager of the department's nuclear waste program in Richland on April 18th. The state has been in charge of the cleanup of the Hanford site, which includes 56 million gallons of radioactive waste stored in underground tanks and the vitrification plant being built to treat it. 7:55 here at iFIBER ONE News Radio, and good morning to you. It is today, Tuesday, the 22nd of March, and we find out that today is the American Diabetes Association's Alert Day. It's a one-day wake-up call asking the American public to take the diabetes risk test to find out if they're at risk for developing type 2 diabetes day. On this Mission Engagement Day, employees will be encouraged to take the diabetes risk test, share it with family and friends, and participate in workplace-friendly activities. I took the test this morning, and I scored a 2 out of 10. I got a point because I'm a man, and I got a point because of my moderate BMI. Those are the two things right now. So right now, my risk is low although only a doctor can tell you for sure. There is some important things to do to help you stave off diabetes. One of them is healthy eating. Staying at a healthy weight can help you prevent and manage problems like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and unhealthy cholesterol and high blood glucose. We are trying healthy eating at the house. We do those. If you listen to Dave Ramsey, he talks about e-meals. Mm-hmm. They send you recipes every week. We had done it before Dave started on the air here. So we had been familiar with it, and it is a pretty good deal. I mean, they come out with everything you need, your produce, your grocery list, and you can choose healthy eating styles and stuff like that. So it is important to do these types of things to lower your risk for type 2 diabetes. We'll put the links on our Facebook page and on iFIBER1newsradio.com. But diabetes.org is where I went this morning to find out some more information on Alert Day for a wake-up call, taking the test to find out if you yourself may be at risk.
Mm-hmm. So, yesterday we talked about the Kraft macaroni and cheese. And usually on Sundays is my day to prepare all my food for the week. I go shopping and I do all my food preparation so I can bring my lunch, etc. But sometimes your weekends get hectic and you don't get that done. So I picked up a box of that natural Kraft macaroni and cheese to see what was in it.
You guys didn't see this on the radio, but she did some fake air quotes there just a second ago.
Well, so I didn't notice really that much of a taste difference at all.
Well, then they did it right.
Yeah, so they did it right. So then I was trying to read the ingredients, and I was going to bring that in this morning and completely forgot. So I was trying to look it up really quick while we were talking to let you know what the new ingredients were. But
they use spices and stuff, right?
Yeah, they actually used. So this one, I swear I saw they said something about turmeric on there, but I don't see it. So paprika as the color, but I also saw turmeric as the color. I don't see it on this label exactly.
Tom Hartman was just talking about turmeric last week, I believe.
Yeah, turmeric is actually really good for you, they have found out. So I will find out those, and I'll post that onto Facebook. But the taste wasn't really that different than regular macaroni and cheese.
Now, are you sure that you actually have a box of the new stuff?
Yeah, because it says right on it.
Brand new?
Yeah.
7:58 at iFIBER One News Radio. 8 o'clock, ABC News. Marilyn Foster at 8:04. Mariners with a big win. Gonzaga prepping for the orange on Friday. More news from the Northwest. That's all coming up.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Hey, baseball fans, it's that time of year again to join iFIBER One News Radio for Seattle Mariners baseball. Baseball is part of the fabric of summertime in the Northwest, and with people traveling to enjoy outdoor activities like camping, fishing, hiking, and boating, the only place to listen to the Seattle Mariners is on iFIBER One News Radio. People ask what they remember about a business when they have a need, and they always remember the name that they hear, the one that is most relevant in their mind. Advertising makes your business relevant and part of the community. Your business can be part of the Mariners broadcast each day or each inning of every game this summer by signing up now. Any business that signs up now to advertise with the Mariners gets up to 300 free schedule magnets. Call iFIBER One News Radio today at 360-426-1030 and sign up to be part of the Mariners broadcast team.
Are you a do-it-yourselfer or a direct-it-yourselfer?
Every weekend, people tell us about overspending on projects they could have handled themselves for lots less money.
And we hear from people who ended up overspending because they tried to do something they should have called in a pro to tackle.
Well, we'll help you sort it out. I'm Tom Kreitler.
And I'm Leslie Segretti. Got a remodeling or a repair project?
We can help you decide whether to do it yourself or direct it yourself this weekend on the Money Fit Home Improvement Radio Show.
Saturdays at 10, Sundays at 7 on iFIBER One News Radio. Dave Ramsey helps you handle your money. Weekdays from noon to 3 on iFIBER One News Radio. AM 1030, FM 103.3, KMAS Shelton.
I'm Karen Chase.
President Obama began his address to the Cuban people by denouncing the terrorist bombings in Brussels as outrageous and offering condolences to Belgium for the 31 killed and nearly 200 injured.
This is yet another reminder that the world must unite. We must be together, regardless of nationality or race or faith, in fighting against the scourge of terrorism.
The president also vowed to stand with Belgium in its efforts to bring those responsible to justice. Witnesses have claimed that someone shouted something in Arabic before the blasts went off at the airport, just before the devastation.
I walked through a mess, a load of stuff, glass splitters, smoke, water dripping from the ceiling. We had to walk through puddles, and we were evacuated.
Is it over? That's what intelligence officials are now wondering. Investigators suspect terrorists acted fast out of fear their plans were being spilled by the recently arrested Paris attack suspect. ABC's Pierre Thomas explained.
Clearly, they wanted to get an attack quickly after this arrest. That's what the U.S. law enforcement officials were assuming this morning when I spoke to them. And the quickest way to do it, and to make a big splash, if you will, is at an airport. They apparently were concerned they couldn't get through the airport security, so they did it on the outside, so-called soft target.
Security is being stepped up in major cities across Europe and the U.S., including New York City. Extra counterterrorism troops are being deployed at airports and train stations. ABC's Terry Moran has the view from London.
This is obviously not the first time, not the first attack. And cities like London, where I am right now, are bracing for the next one. There is a sense of foreboding that Europe itself is becoming a battlefield.
The FBI now thinks it can unlock the iPhone of one of the San Bernardino shooters without Apple's help. An LA court hearing on the issue has been postponed while agency engineers try a new method. This is ABC News.
Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? Posting your job in one place isn't enough to find quality candidates. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all the top job sites. And now you can. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 100 plus job sites, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. Find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. Just post once and watch your qualified candidates roll in to ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Quickly screen candidates, rate them, and hire the right person fast. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 400,000 businesses. And right now, listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/ABC Radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/ABC Radio. One more time. To try it for free, go to ZipRecruiter.com/ABC Radio.
President Obama is planning to attend a baseball game tonight between the Tampa Bay Rays and Cuba's national team. ABC's Alex Stone is with the president in Havana.
This is obviously...
Baseball is king here in Cuba. Tampa Bay Rays third baseman Evan Longoria says a common thread between the two countries is the love of baseball.
Just from the time that we set foot on the ground, the amount of people and the amount of fanfare that this event has garnered.
Today's game comes at a time when baseball is in crisis in this country because so many players have defected to the U.S., gutting Cuban teams. And to make matters worse, new regulations will allow Major League Baseball to directly hire Cuban players. Alex Stone, ABC News, Havana, Cuba.
7 decades after their "we can do it" attitude proved invaluable to victory in World War II, about 30 Rosie the Riveters are being honored with a flight to Washington, D.C. from Detroit. They'll visit the National World War II Memorial and Arlington National Cemetery. Karen Chase, ABC News.
Local news is brought to you by Fred Holmes Tree Service. FredHolmesTreeService.com, 427-4489.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. A leaking propane gas required the evacuation of several Lynch Road area neighbors, but ended without explosion or injuries Sunday. Mason County Fire District 4 Chief Bob Burbridge said firefighters who responded to the scene of the leaking tank evacuated about 8 homes in a half-mile radius of the tank as a safety precaution. Roadblocks were set up in the 3800 block of Lynch Road between Sells and Cole Roads, preventing about 30 residents on Phillips Road to return home until the tank's propane dissipated. The tank ran out of gas at about 10:30 p.m., and the site was cleared at around 11 p.m. Jennifer Beria from the Mason County EDC and George Sharp from Sharp Strategies and Solutions came on Daybreak Monday to talk about this week's kickoff roundtable with the various industries around the region in an effort to pinpoint what can be done to boost businesses within key segments of the economy. George was brought on by the EDC to serve as a roundtable facilitator, and he shared his experience.
I used to work for the Washington State Department of Commerce for 11 years, and then I worked for the Olympia Lacey Tumwater Visitor and Convention Bureau for 5 years, and I just started my own firm called Sharp Strategies and Solutions back in April.
Oh, wonderful.
So I did a lot of facilitation around the state for 11 years.
This week, aquaculture starts the roundtables.
So the first one is aquaculture. Washington is a huge producer. It's leaps and bounds over California and over Oregon. I think our revenue last year was pretty close to $1.3 billion. That's for the total for Washington. And so that's a big impact that we've got. We've got probably about 1,300 jobs in Washington that are directly supported by aquaculture. So that's your divers, that's your growers, that's your producers. All of those are rolled into that.
George shared what the goal of the discussions are.
What our goal is to come out with a strategic plan for each one of these industries as well. We'll also ask them what's going really well in the industry, what could go better. Is there anything that the industry should stop doing? Maybe technologies change or the customers change. Anything they should start doing because technologies change and the customers change. What are the resources they need to be successful? And that might not just be money, but education, those kind of resources that we can kind of align for the table. And then also, who else should they be partnering with? Maybe there's people that they haven't been aligned with because they didn't know that they were available. And that's our ultimate goal, is to come out with a strategic plan that helps the industry move forward.
He adds the first overall goal is to retain businesses in Mason County. Second is to help them grow and expand. And third is to find businesses to recruit to help make local businesses achieve even more success. Find more information about the roundtables on the EDC's website at choosemason.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
Well, the Mariners have been down in the desert for a few weeks now.
Goodbye baseball, onto the berm, Robbie Cadeau.
The vets are sounding good, and the rookies are looking to make the cut. Before too long, it will be opening day. And iFIBER One News Radio is your home for Seattle Mariners baseball all season long. You can listen on AM 1030 or FM 103.3. The South Sound home for Mariners baseball this season is iFIBER One News Radio, AM 1030 or FM 103.3.
Arch Mechanical. Our name begins with affordable. Affordable refrigeration, cooling, and heating. Whether residential, commercial, or food service equipment, your satisfaction is of utmost importance. And with over 30 years of experience, Arch Mechanical Service is backed by a 30-day labor guarantee. Serving South and West Puget Sound, there is no need to pay for one of those big city technicians. Call 360-229-2139. Arch Mechanical. Our name begins with affordable.
Now, from the all-new Gillis Auto Center Sports Desk, here's Jeff Slakey.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. 8:08 here at iFIBER One News Radio, AM 1030 and FM 103.3, streaming online, audio and video at iFIBER1newsradio.com.
First pitch to Cruz, breaking ball, driven deep to left. There it goes, all the way back is Thompson, can't get it. 3-run homer for Nelson Cruz, the boomstick, with his second blast of the season in the Mariners. The 3-run shot take the lead at 5-3.
Final score eventually 6-3 with the Mariners on the winning side of that one. Our next Mariners game is tomorrow against the Oakland A's at 7 p.m. here on iFIBER One News Radio. Gonzaga preparing for the Sweet 16 this week. We'll have it for you on the radio. Bulldogs face the Orange on Friday night. 5:20 the pregame tip-off, right around 5:40. Of course, it's a fluctuating clock as Gonzaga basketball and all of the NCAA tournament. You know, we're kind of waiting on other games to finish before other games start, but the supposed tip-off time will be right around 5:40. Ducks as well, taking on Duke Blue Devils this Thursday in the Sweet 16. And Kelsey Plum in the NCAA women's tournament scored 32, and Washington shocked second-seeded Maryland 74-65 last night to reach the Sweet 16 of the women's NCAA tournament. It's 8:10 right now at iFiber One News Radio, and checking out the South Sounds weather forecast. Here's Carol Gardner.
Good morning. A calm start to the day. South Sound temps around the 40s. There's sunshine. There's light rain showers. And this afternoon, it looks like it's going to be partly sunny also, but the rain will begin to increase later on afternoon. Highs are in the mid-50s. Tomorrow starts about the same, a little drier, but by afternoon, wet and a little more breezy. Right now, it's 42 in Shelton.
Now, from the iFiber One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor, your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Yeah, good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Morning.
Good morning.
Great show continuing on. Streaming audio and video this morning at iFiber1newsradio.com. You can follow us on Twitter at iFiber1Radio and Facebook at facebook.com. There up in the top right area, top left, you can do a little search. You type in 1030 KMAS and you'll find us, or iFiber One News Radio as well. Rebecca Lawson from the Department of Ecology will be on in about a half an hour at 8:45 to talk about next week's C Street landfill cleanup public meeting and hearing. Open house meeting and hearing will be on the 30th at the PUD3 Skookum Auditorium, and you can go there and see documents and talk with project members about the Shelton C Street landfill cleanup, again with Rebecca Lawson from the Department of Ecology, coming up at 8:45. Other news stories from around the Northwest and Washington this morning. We're learning more about the Seattle Tunnel Project. I saw an amazing photo on the internet yesterday of the size of the hole that was being built by Bertha. And I don't know what I was imagining, but it was huge. It showed a little dude in there, and he was way little compared to the size of the big tunnel. And I guess it never came across the desk that it's going to be a double decker. So they're basically taking the viaduct, which isn't that a double decker? Mm-hmm. They're just going to move it underground.
They're not going to move that.
Well, they better not move that.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah. Somebody had some crazy plan to, bore a hole under Seattle.
Still watch Bertha. Bertha has her own Twitter account.
She does. You can follow her.
Follow her on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Vice President was in town, likes the cooperation he sees as he's touring Fred Hutch. And there was a vessel that was grounded on the Columbia yesterday. Those stories and more all coming up here on Daybreak.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
The ocean waves roll in, hypnotic, continuous, and perched high above rests the oldest family-owned resort on Washington's coast, Ocean Crest Resort. Picturesque, friendly, comfortable. Ocean Crest has served as the perfect ocean hideaway for over 60 years. With unsurpassed ocean views, warm fireplaces, full kitchen, swimming pool, hot tub, and spa, Ocean Crest Resort offers you total and unrivaled relaxation. Frommer's Guide reports you simply won't find a more spectacular setting anywhere on the Washington coast. And Ocean Crest's enchanting restaurant is listed as one of Washington's 13 ultimate restaurants you must visit before you die. See for yourself with our special 3-for-2 package. For a limited time, stay 2 nights and get a third night free. Call 800-684-8439, 800-684-8439, or visit oceancrestresort.com. Ocean Crest Resort, making memories since 1953. In Mo Clips, overlooking the Pacific Ocean.
iFiber Communications, the fastest internet provider in Washington State, has just opened their doors here in Mason County and got their first local customers signed up. James, tell me about your experience.
From the first time I learned of iFiber to the day I got hooked up, even now, I felt that my fiber connection and the service given to me have been the #1 most important job to every member of the iFiber team. And not just because I was first in line with my nose pressed up to the glass waiting for a company to take my money.
What differences have you noticed?
I get what I pay for. With non-fiber solutions, you're paying up to the top and never get a constant number anywhere near that top. With fiber, you certainly do. With iFIBER, you get it at a competitive and affordable price.
Why should others sign up for iFIBER Internet?
Well, iFIBER has made a commitment to Mason County. They're working hard to bring fast speeds to everyone at an affordable price. And now with phones and television, your bill will be all in one place with no hidden fees or sudden price changes to surprise you month to month like other all-in-one service providers.
Get signed up for iFIBER Communications today by calling 360-427-4000 or visit iFIBER.tv for more information.
iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
8:15 at iFIBER One News Radio. We'll have a status report update for you from Brussels after last night's explosion that rocked the city there in the airport. Perhaps reports of other locations as well. But on the Twitter this morning, another breaking news story.
Some other national news. The family of former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford said that Rob Ford had died at 46 after fighting cancer.
And he was the guy who appeared to be quite overweight, and he was having the drug issues, like on the floor of the State House in Toronto.
Yeah, he was in a lot of the news last year, I think it was, or a couple years ago.
Huh. I had read that he was not doing well, but I didn't know it was that bad. Records show injuries suffered by workers on Seattle's downtown tunnel project last year resulted in almost $750,000 in workers' comp claims. Contractors cited and fined twice for some safety violations in 2015. A review of worker safety records by the AP shows workers sustained injuries like amputated foot, fractured hand, and fingertip crushed so badly had to be surgically removed. 60 of those injured workers filed comp claims in 2015. They have logged about 1.2 million hours of work on the tunnel in calendar year 2015, and most of the workers' comp claims for injuries did not result in any time away from any work.
And Vice President Joe Biden toured a Seattle research facility Monday, saying scientists are at a turning point in their efforts to eliminate cancer. The tour is part of the White House $1 billion proposal for new initiatives to cure cancer. And since the president's announcement during his State of the Union address in January, Biden has been visiting cancer researchers and advocates. Biden toured the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, and they're spearheading immunotherapy, a treatment that attempts to use a patient's own immune system to fight cancerous cells. Biden says he's encouraged by improved cooperation among the cancer research community.
So you think that's kind of like when you get a shot of, let's just say mumps. So somebody gets a shot and there's like a little bit of mumps in the shot and your blood cells fight it and then build up the immunity. You think that's kind of what they're looking at here? Some healthy immunotherapy cells?
It looks like it. And I read something really interesting the other day. When you cut your finger, you have all expectation your body will know how to heal itself. Correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get cancer, why don't you just have that same expectation that your body will know how to heal itself?
Oh.
So I think they're realizing the body is wise, but for some reason the connections aren't working as well. So they're trying to boost the body to go, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I know how to do this. So
interesting.
Yeah, really cool bioscience
you think
stuff.
We're with putting old Joe on it? You think we're going to get a cure here in the next? You think by 2020, 4 years?
I think he's a great face for it. He's really had a lot of, like many of us, have had to deal with a lot of it in his personal life, and he has the ability, I think, to get out there, and he's friendly. People want to talk to him, and he maybe can bring some of this stuff together.
But do you think the science will be there to cure cancer in the next couple of years?
I think if the science gets out of their own way, it is there.
Oh.
If the scientists get out of their own way with all the politicking among scientists.
Sure.
It's there. But, everybody wants to be the one that does it.
Yeah.
But if they would cooperate and work together, they might have found that they may already even know how to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to how I think about these reality competition shows all the time. You go so I like Ink Master. We'll use Ink Master. It's a tattoo show. They supposedly find the 10 best Ink Master people in the world. to bring, or in America, to bring them in and compete in this competition. Well, what about the people that have never seen the show because they're too busy working? Or what if they're in another world, another country, and they're the best ever, but nobody's ever met them?
Right.
Like these scientists, somebody could have a cure for this, and they're in Mali, and nobody was, Mali, they don't know anything.
Well, it's just like what we're seeing with the presidential election. There could be somebody that was really good and has all these great ideas, but nobody pays attention to them. So nobody even hears about what they have to say. Sure. It's the same thing with everything.
Interesting.
Money.
Money talks.
Money talks.
8:20 here at iFIBER One News Radio. A good morning to you. Marilyn Foster has the latest in local news. Coming up in a few moments, we start some roundtable discussions about aquaculture here with the Mason County EDC. They're working with the county as well. Aquaculture is the first roundtable that the EDC is working on. Jennifer Barria and George Sharp were on yesterday. It's 8:21. Here's the latest information from Brussels from ABC News.
Brussels under attack. The death toll from coordinated bombings at the airport and a subway station in the Belgian capital is approaching 36, with more than 100 other people hurt. Ambassador to the U.S. Johan Verbeeke says authorities were on alert after finding evidence of a planned assault during the manhunt for Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam.
In those house searches, a lot of heavy weapons have been found, which is an indication that something was perhaps being planned for the next few days.
Visiting Cuba, President Obama offered condolences to the people of Belgium.
This is yet another reminder that the world must unite. We must be together, regardless of nationality or race or faith, in fighting against the scourge of terrorism.
Public transportation around Brussels has been shut down. Among the injured are 3 Americans, Mormon missionaries from Utah. With continuing coverage, Brussels under attack. I'm Jim Ryan, ABC News.
We will have another update on the Brussels attack before 9 o'clock. Also, ABC has put out a report on former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford, who just died. That just came over the Twitter, Cancer 46. We'll take a quick break right now on Daybreak.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Say, what's for lunch? Breakfast. No, what's for lunch? Oh, yeah, breakfast. Breakfast for lunch? Yep. Then what's for dinner? Breakfast is. I thought you said breakfast was for lunch. Oh, I totally did. But now you're saying breakfast is for dinner. Oh, yeah. So, wait, is lunch for breakfast? No, breakfast is for breakfast. With McDonald's all-day breakfast menu, which includes the Egg McMuffin, hot cakes, and hash browns, anytime is delicious breakfast time. Man, I'm heading to McDonald's. Have a good afternoon. Don't you mean good morning? I do now.
McDonald's all-day breakfast menu varies by location.
Introducing McDonald's signature crafted recipes. We're talking bold sandwiches featuring authentic ingredients.
What?
You know it, like the guacamole made with Haas avocados in the Pico guacamole recipe.
Wow.
Barbecue sauce made with Vidalia onions in the sweet barbecue bacon recipe.
Nice.
And bacon with maple seasoning in the maple bacon Dijon recipe.
Amazing.
Try them on chicken or beef.
I want to try them all.
It's a new way to enjoy McDonald's. Create your signature crafted sandwich today at participating McDonald's.
Hi guys, Kat here with iFIBER One News Radio. What if I told you that radio advertising is far more effective than print media? Think about all of your customers driving to work, appointments, or events, all the while listening to the radio. Imagine your commercial airs on iFIBER One News Radio and the customer decides, hey, I'm right by there. I'm going to go check it out. Radio captures you and literally speaks to you and your customers several times a day. This enables you to build a unique message that reminds your customers what you have to offer. Remember, your customers can either drive to you or through you. And here at iFIBER One News Radio, we want to direct customers to you. Being the only talk radio formatted station in the entire South Sound region, we have an entire new market for your business to advertise in. As your sales lady, I take pride in providing your business with the best advertising because I want your business to succeed. So call me today at 360-463-2558 and ask for Kat.
iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
$8:25 at iFIBER One News Radio. Marilyn Foster coming up at 8:30 for the latest in local news. We'll also check the morning stock numbers in just a few moments.
And you know how I like to follow Twitter.
Oh, you're a big
Twitter fan.
Twitter.
And I might have a Twitter tutorial Tuesday coming up. I mean, there's some cool stuff on Twitter, but I did read about this no big OSO slide plan today, no memorial plan today, because people are just moving on. Not that they don't care, they're just moving on.
So today was the day of the OSO slide.
Today was the day of the OSO slide.
Wow.
So, yeah. Very interesting. And then also it's World Water Day. So if you do hashtag World Water Day, you'll see all sorts of things about world water and why it was even announced. But you have something that you
yeah, well, we just found out that former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford died. He had made the news, world news, about some of his antics, perhaps on or not on illicit drugs. He has passed away of cancer, and here's a report from ABC News. Is Sherry Preston.
This is a special report from ABC News. Former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford has died. He became famous for his substance-fueled outbursts, even admitting to smoking crack cocaine during his tenure. Earlier in his career, he was a city councillor and an outspoken critic of government spending. But controversy consumed his first and only term as mayor. He was eventually stripped of many of his duties. That didn't deter him. Rob Ford ran for re-election before being sidelined by cancer. It reappeared late last year and moved swiftly. Rob Ford, the former mayor of Toronto, dead at the age of 46. I'm Sherry Preston. This has been a special report from ABC News.
We'll also continue to update on ABC News reports regarding the Brussels attack that happened during the overnight here in the Pacific time zone. It was at an airport in Brussels, and perhaps in retaliation or because of the arrest of the Paris bomber who they recently found.
So today is World Water Day. And, you know, water, especially here in the Northwest, we sort of take it for granted until it's in a short supply. But I think up here in the Northwest, it's harder to realize that there is water shortages anywhere. But World Water Day was established for that very reason. It's held annually on March 22nd, and it's an international observance that dates back to the 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. And I have some facts about world water. 1.8 billion people around the world lack access to safe water. Globally, a third
Wait a second.
Oh, okay.
1.8 billion people access to safe water, meaning they are not near fresh bodies of water, or the water systems they have are contaminated?
Well, a lot of them don't even have water systems. So they have to hike to a river or a stream or whatever it is there and carry it back. But when they get there, it's polluted, or there's all sorts of, there's stuff issues with it, or even their well is just polluted and they don't have correct filters. There's all sorts of things that are going on.
I feel like Marie Antoinette right now when I talk about, well, their water system. They just get a better water system.
Yeah. No, they don't even have a water system.
They don't even have a water system.
No, but there are people that are working on all this kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, this person wrote a book called The Long Walk to Water. It sold more than 1 million copies. It was published in 2010, and it's about the true story of this kid named Salva Dute. It's a fictional story. It's a true story of Salva Dute, this person that he was in, I can't remember, I sort of read a little bit about it. But anyways, he was adopted by some American people, but he kept going back to the Sudan to help with their water supply. So she wrote a fictional story about it. But I mean, 8 hours a day to retrieve water from a distant well.
Wow.
This is fictionalized in the book, but that is the truth in a lot of the parts of the country. Yeah, it's sort of crazy when you think about those types of things. A third of all schools lack access to safe water and adequate sanitation. And a third of healthcare facilities lack safe water source.
In low and middle income countries.
Yeah.
Wow. That is interesting.
Interesting and sobering, I would say.
I'm trying to, they had that crisis down in California, the snowpack and all that stuff, and they had thought about bringing aircraft carriers up and down the coast with their desalinization. Excuse me. 8:29 at iFIBER One News Radio, and the morning stock numbers are on the phone line with Karen Shade. Hello.
Good morning. Happy sunny Tuesday.
Yeah, sunny Tuesday indeed.
Yes.
Is it sunny on Wall Street?
Not so much. U.S. stocks are mostly lower this morning as investors react to the attacks in Brussels. In economic news, sales of U.S. commercial real estate fell sharply in February, and Treasury prices are higher this morning as demand for safety of government debt has increased following the attacks in Belgium. So far this morning, the S&P 500, the best performing sector is healthcare, while the worst performing sector is consumer staples. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 14 points at 17,609. The Standard & Poor's 500 Index is down 2 points at 2,049, and the NASDAQ Composite Index is up 9 points at 4,818. This morning, volume on the New York Stock Exchange is moderate, with 215 million shares being traded, and decliners are outnumbering advancers by roughly 4-3 margin. In the commodity markets, the spot price of gold is at $8.07 to $1,251.76. The spot price of silver is up 3 cents to $15.87, and crude oil prices are down 7 cents to $41.45. In the bond markets, the 30-year Treasury yield is currently 2.69%, and the 10-year Treasury yield is 1.89%. Stocks with local interest: Amazon is up $4.35. Costco is down 97 cents. Boeing is down 8 cents. Starbucks is down 20 cents, and Microsoft is down 4 cents. This is Karen Shade of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and long-term financial advice. I'm located at 1051 Southeast State Route 3 in Shelton, and if you'd like additional information, you can contact me at 426-4590, and daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
All right, Karen, thank you much. Talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
8:31 right now. We'll be back after Marilyn Foster as the latest in local news. ABC Sports on the way. Mariners with a win, and Gonzaga getting ready for the orange. Big orange. Syracuse in the Sweet 16. It's all coming up here on Daybreak.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. A leaking propane gas required the evacuation of several Lynch Road area neighbors, but ended without explosion or injuries Sunday. Mason County Fire District 4 Chief Bob Burbridge said firefighters who responded to the scene of the leaking tank evacuated about 8 homes in a half-mile radius of the tank as a safety precaution. Roadblocks were set up in the 3800 block of Lynch Road between Sells and Cole Roads, preventing about 30 residents on Phillips Road to return home until the tank's propane dissipated. The tank ran out of gas at about 10:30 p.m., and the site was cleared at around 11 p.m. Jennifer Beria from the Mason County EDC and George Sharp from Sharp Strategies and Solutions came on Daybreak Monday to talk about this week's kickoff roundtable with the various industries around the region in an effort to pinpoint what can be done to boost businesses within key segments of the economy. George was brought on by the EDC to serve as a roundtable facilitator, and he shared his experience.
I used to work for the Washington State Department of Commerce for 11 years, and then I worked for the Olympia Lacey Tumwater Visitor and Convention Bureau for 5 years, and I just started my own firm called Sharp Strategies and Solutions back in April.
Oh, wonderful.
So I did a lot of facilitation around the state for 11 years.
This week, aquaculture starts the roundtables.
So the first one is aquaculture. Washington is a huge producer. It's leaps and bounds over California and over Oregon. I think our revenue last year was pretty close to $1.3 billion. That's for the total for Washington. And so that's a big impact that we've got. We've got probably about 1,300 jobs in Washington that are directly supported by aquaculture. So that's your divers, that's your growers, that's your producers. All of those are rolled into that.
George shared what the goal of the discussions are.
What our goal is to come out with a strategic plan for each one of these industries as well. We'll also ask them what's going really well in the industry, what could go better. Is there anything that the industry should stop doing? Maybe technologies change or the customers change. Anything they should start doing because technologies change and the customers change. What are the resources they need to be successful? And that might not just be money, but education, those kind of resources that we can kind of align for the table. And then also, who else should they be partnering with? Maybe there's people that they haven't been aligned with because they didn't know that they were available. And that's our ultimate goal, is to come out with a strategic plan that helps the industry move forward.
He adds the first overall goal is to retain businesses in Mason County. Second is to help them grow and expand. And third is to find businesses to recruit to help make local businesses achieve even more success. Find more information about the roundtables on the EDC's website at choosemason.com. For iFiber One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
Ascend Roofing Company in Shelton's on top of it. 868-2730. Roofing work that speaks for itself.
Hey, just a little note to say thank you for the outstanding work that you, Dennis, and especially Jorge and the crew performed for us on our roofing project. On a scale of 1 to 10, we rate it at 10.5. It was a fantastic feeling from start to finish. Your company is a first-class operation and will definitely give your name to all of our friends and family if they're in need of your services.
You could be the next happy customer by calling Ascend Roofing. 868-2730. Well, the Mariners have been down in the desert for a few weeks now.
Hit by baseball onto the berm. Robbie Cadeau.
The vets are sounding good, and the rookies are looking to make the cut. Before too long, it will be opening day. And iFiber One News Radio is your home for Seattle Mariners baseball all season long. You can listen on AM 1030 or FM 103.3. The South Sound home for Mariners baseball this season is iFiber One News Radio, AM 1030 or FM 103.3.
Busted but not broken. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Packer reporting on sports. It looked like the Warriors were on their way to suffering their first losing streak until Draymond Green picked up the slack.
Livingston will throw it in. Baseline left. Holds the ball, waits, and finds Draymond wide open underneath the bucket for a layup.
On KNBR, despite a rough go of it for Steph Curry, Green finished with 24 points as the Warriors hold on to beat the Timberwolves 109-104. With a lot of off-the-court chatter surrounding LeBron James, he let his play do the talking Monday.
Here come the Cavaliers as LeBron takes an alley-oop from Jefferson and dunks.
WTAM with the call, 33 points and triple-double from LeBron give the Cavaliers their second straight Central Division title in a win over the Nuggets. The Hornets hand the Spurs a rare loss. The Pistons 92, Bucks 91 on an Andre Drummond tip-in. Celtics over the Magic, Bulls on top of the Kings, Pacers handle the Sixers, and Wizards and Grizzlies also winners on Monday. In a developing story in tennis, Raymond Moore has resigned as CEO of Indian Wells. Owner Larry Ellison announced the move one day after Moore said women's players ride men's coattails. Pittsburgh's basketball coach Jamie Dixon is headed back to his alma mater, TCU. Pitt's athletic director Scott Barnes said he knew where Dixon truly wanted to be, so they softened his buyout.
It wouldn't have been good for our program or student athletes or him and his family to hold him hostage.
The Tampa Bay Rays will engage in an unprecedented venture for Major League Baseball when they take on the Cuban national team. But for one player, the visit is more than just a historic one.
Outfielder Dayron Verona defected from Cuba through Haiti 3 years ago to play professional baseball in the U.S. With the Rays playing the Cuban national team, Verona gets a chance to finally go back home to see his family and friends, whom he hasn't seen or spoken to since he left the island. What makes it even more special? He'll be starting in right field and batting leadoff. He'll be the first player to bat in the game.
ABC's Chuck Siebertson, Dave Packer, ABC Sports.
Now, from the all-new Gillis Auto Center Sports Desk, here's Jeff Slakey.
I mean, 8:38 here at iFiber One News Radio. And good morning to you. It is Daybreak here with Jeff and Carol. Carol, are you excited about the Mariners?
I am super excited. I got to get a shirt, a T-shirt. I don't have one anymore.
You don't?
Nope.
At all?
Nope. I had a sweatshirt. I have my hat. I used to have a T-shirt, but you
got to get in. You got to. How about you get a Cruz jersey this year?
How about I get
first pitch to Cruz, breaking ball, driven deep to left. There it goes, all the way back is Thompson, can't get it. 3-run homer for Nelson Cruz, the boomstick, with his second blast of the season in the Mariners. The 3-run shot take the lead at 5-3.
I mean, Nelson Cruz is good. You get a jersey, a Nelson Cruz jersey?
I probably would not. I mean, I'd like Nelson Cruz, but I probably wouldn't get his jersey.
Man, I like it. Final score yesterday, 6-3. It is so fun to hear the Mariners on the radio. Our next game tomorrow against the Athletics of Oakland, elephant and all, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Gonzaga prepping for the Sweet 16, taking on the Syracuse Orange Friday, pregame 5:20, tip-off 5:40. We've got it for you on the radio. Oregon Ducks taking on Duke So we picked the 16 seed Holy Cross to beat Oregon in the first round. Cinderella story. Obviously that didn't happen. So now I'm rooting for Oregon to beat Duke. Never a big Blue Devil fan. They won against St. Joe's 69-64. First time the Ducks have won 30 victories in a year since 1945. 8:40 here at iFIBER One News Radio. Moving on to the South Sounds forecast. Here's Carol.
It's been a calm morning. Temperatures right around the 40s. Partly sunny with possible light showers. The afternoon will continue to be partly sunny, but rain will start and increase in the late afternoon. Highs in the mid-50s. Tomorrow starts about the same, a little drier, but by afternoon, wet and breezy. Right now, it's 42 in Shelton.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You, from business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
8:41 here at iFIBER One News Radio, and a good morning to you. Jeff Slakey and Carol Gardner, and on the phone line in just a moment, we are going to be talking with, for the Department of Ecology, Rebecca Lawson, about the Shelton C Street landfill cleanup public meeting and hearing next week. So we'll get Rebecca on the line just after this.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Taylor Shellfish is a proud sponsor of the Environmentally Sound program. For 5 generations, the Taylor family's been stewards of a healthy and prosperous Puget Sound. In partnership with nature, Taylor Shellfish brings you the freshest, most sustainable shellfish you'll ever eat. Visit their store at 136 Southeast Lynch Road. Open daily from 10 to 6, and they're online at TaylorShellfishFarms.com.
iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
Good morning to you. It's 8:42 here at iFIBER One News Radio. Daybreak with Jeff and Carol on a Tuesday morning, and on the phone line from the Washington Department of Ecology, Rebecca Lawson is back on with us. We talked with her a couple weeks ago about the upcoming public meeting and hearing for the Shelton C Street landfill cleanup. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, Jeff and Carol.
Good morning.
Thanks for calling in with us again, and we are just wanting to remind folks about a big public meeting and hearing, which is a week from tomorrow. It is the 30th at the PUD 3 Skookum Auditorium, and this is about the Shelton C Street landfill cleanup. Isn't that right?
Yes, it is.
Where are we at with this for folks who are unfamiliar? Why is this public meeting coming up?
Well, we have entered into a formal agreement that we call an agreed order with the City of Shelton to do a remedial investigation and feasibility study at the C Street landfill. As I'm sure you know, that landfill operated for many years prior to any solid waste regulations. And now it's time to take a look and see if there's any contamination there that needs to be cleaned up. And we did have a public meeting, so this agreed order and our scope of work to do this remedial investigation and feasibility study are out for public comment. We had a public meeting, I believe that was back in February, and we had folks request a hearing. And the difference is, at a public meeting, we accept comments only in writing. At a hearing, we'll have a stenographer and we can take oral comments. And the community really wanted that. So we're coming back on March 30th. To hold a hearing, and we'll give basically the same presentation that we gave at the last meeting, but this time folks will have a chance to offer their comments orally. And we have also extended the public comment period to April 6th to accommodate the hearing.
So I'm looking at the agenda here for next Wednesday, and after an open house where folks can look at the documents and have a little bit of availability for discussion with the project members, the members are going to present the overview of the agreed order on the cleanup, where they are in the process, the sequence, and the next steps. After that is when the hearing will start. So where are we at with the overview of the agreed order and the project sequence?
So the remedial investigation and feasibility study are really kind of the first steps in the overall cleanup process. The remedial investigation will define the nature and extent of contamination. So that'll let us know, is there contamination there that's a threat to human health and the environment that needs to be addressed? And if that's the case, then the feasibility study will lay out different remedial options to remediate that contamination. And then after that's done, we will create a cleanup action plan that lays out what the actual cleanup is, and then that gets implemented under a subsequent legal agreement. So it is a long process. It's probably going to take, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes us 4 years to get to that point.
When I look at the landfill and the map of the landfill and where it is in relation to potential future developments, are you familiar with what is potentially in that landfill and where there could be problems? We
don't have a lot of really good records. We do have some records that some baghouse dust, which was sent to the wastewater treatment plant, and then the sludge from that wastewater treatment plant was taken to C Street landfill. And we do have some information that that material contained dioxins. So that we know, and obviously that's going to be one of the contaminants we're going to be looking for. But beyond that, we will be looking for metals, for solvent-type contaminants, and things like that we would typically potentially see in a landfill.
Is there currently a barrier between the landfill proper and the area outside of the landfill?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure what you mean by barrier. I've heard that there is a gate there, but then I also hear that people, seem to be able to access the area. I'm sorry, maybe a barrier as in like a plastic liner barrier that they use in current dump facilities? No, I don't believe there is any type, because again, this landfill operated prior to any solid waste regulations, so it was not closed under any regulations. And so, we don't really have good information in terms of, was a soil cap put over the entire landfill area? So those are all things that we're going to find out when we do this remedial investigation.
Is this, Rebecca, this is Carol, is this a common thing to more than just this site in Shelton? I mean, is this because there was no prior regulation? So is this happening more than just here?
Oh, yes. To be honest, there are probably hundreds of old landfills across the state, and not all of them turn out to be contaminated sites. So we have to do that remedial investigation and find out what's there. We're talking with Rebecca Lawson from the Department of Ecology about next Wednesday's Shelton C Street landfill cleanup public meeting and hearing. In the public hearing section, and I look again at the timeline and agenda, it looks like there's about 45 minutes. What can you share with the listeners about, if you wish to talk, what information is pertinent information, so you can get a lot of folks commenting if they wish? Right. Well, again, the purpose of the comment is to hear about comments related to the work that we're going to be doing. And, I think members of the community have a lot of feelings about, a lot of things. but if they could try to stay targeted to the work that we're going to be doing and have their comments relate to that, that's what's going to be most helpful to ecology.
Rebecca, are you going to be at this meeting next Wednesday?
Yes, I will, and I will be giving the first part of the presentation. I'll be giving an overview of the cleanup process under our state cleanup law, the Model Toxics Control Act, and then the site manager will give an overview of the remedial investigation and share a little bit about what we do know about the landfill.
Again, this public meeting and hearing is a week from tomorrow at the Mason PUD 3 Skookum Auditorium. It starts at 5:30 with an open house and will conclude at 8:30. Rebecca Lawson, thank you so much for taking some time this morning to remind us and keep us updated on this. And we'll see you next Wednesday at the PUD 3 Skookum Auditorium.
Great. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and look forward to seeing members of the community there.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
8:50 here at iFiber One News Radio. You can find the full story on iFiber1newsradio.com. The headline, Ecology Sets March 30 Public Hearing on C Street Landfill. We'll
bring that up to the front. Plus, when we post the audio for Daybreak, we'll link the story to it.
Wonderful. Okay. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll hear from the Old Farmer's Almanac and get ready to wrap things up on a Tuesday morning. It's the 22nd of March.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
Mason County Garbage and Recycling on Johns Prairie here in Shelton is pleased to offer safe and efficient removal services. Mason County Garbage and Recycling is always mindful of environmental standards and is continuously striving for the highest excellence. Mason County Garbage and Recycling, upholding your trust within the community. Questions? Call 426-8729. In Belfair, 275-4590.
This is Kathy. The best way to keep current on local news and issues is by subscribing to the Mason County Journal. The importance of subscribing to the paper hit home when the marijuana businesses started cropping up in local neighborhoods and people called the paper saying they hadn't heard about the zoning changes. I had to inform the callers that this issue had been discussed in the paper for many months, and the best way to know what was happening in their community was to read the local newspaper. As a result, many of them started up a subscription. Call 426-4412 or visit masoncounty.com to start your subscription today.
Happy Easter from your friends at Lucky Eagle Casino. A very special time that gives them a special opportunity to let you know how much they value your friendship and patronage. Happy Easter from Lucky Eagle Casino.
This is a very busy and quickly changing world. Fads come and fads go, but the old values endure. Whitney Chevrolet hopes that you and your family will enjoy an old-fashioned holiday. Whitney Chevrolet is pleased to extend their best wishes for a happy Easter.
Almanac readers are sharing all kinds of ideas for making household items do double duty. We share some today on the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. With more practical tips and useful advice, this is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report for Tuesday, March 22nd, the 82nd day of the year. Actor William Shatner has a birthday, and America's first shopping mall opened on this day in 1954 in Southfield, Michigan. Do you use household tools for things other than their intended purpose? Here's a few double duty ideas Almanac readers have shared with us. A vegetable peeler or cheese grater works well to slice hard butter. If you make noodles from scratch, cut the strips with a pizza cutter. Dryer sheets make great air fresheners for the car. Stuff a few in the glove box or door pockets. And we've heard lots of recommendations for old washer or dryer drums. Readers are using them for everything from compost bins to worm farms. That is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. Learn more ways to renew, reuse, and recycle at almanac.com.
iFiber One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
8:54 here at iFiber One News Radio. Good morning to you. It is Daybreak. Just got an email from Jim Judson, the athletic director at Shelton School District. Daybreak at iFiber1.com. Daybreak at iFiber1.com. Great email address to get us news, notes, Yesterday's rained-out baseball games rescheduled for today. Varsity is at Wilson High School at 4, and the JV will play at MCRA at 4. It's 8:54 here at iFIBER One News Radio, and a status report update from Brussels now with ABC News.
Brussels under attack. President Obama says the thoughts and prayers of the American people are with the people of Belgium, where at least 34 people are dead after the terror attacks this morning.
We can and we will defeat those who threaten the safety and security of people all around the world.
The president speaking in Havana, where his historic visit to Cuba has been overshadowed now by the violence that also injured at least 180 people, including 3 Mormon missionaries from the U.S. Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, also reacting.
This is a terrorist attack in the heart of Europe. As our countries have always done, we must confront this threat together.
This coming days after the arrest of Paris terror suspect Salah Abdeslam, ABC News terror consultant Matt Olson.
The real goal right now is, are there follow-on attacks? That's got to be the primary concern. Is there anything in the works? Do we expect any more attacks, any more coordinated attacks in places like Brussels or Paris?
And right now, Brussels remains locked down at what would have been the end of the workday. With continuing coverage, Brussels under attack. I'm Scott Goldberg, ABC News.
And ABC News will be at 9 o'clock with more information, and Mary Lynn Foster at 9:03, and Tom Hartman's show starting at 9:06 this morning. It's 8:55 here now. Tomorrow, but a big show for you with U.S. Congressman from the 6th District here in the great state of Washington, Derek Kilmer's calling in at 6:40, 6:45 or so tomorrow morning. He's got a little bit of a break in his legislative schedule. So we'll talk with him about some issues that are going on nationally. Drew McEwen at 7:15, 35th District Representative. We'll talk with him about the ongoing legislative session. Dan Griffey was in just an hour or so ago, hour and a half or so ago, and he was hopeful that potentially there could be maybe a deal soon.
He wants to bring in positiveness to it, which I agree, but he said they worked all weekend.
No, they did, and that was the big key.
Yeah.
That the House and Senate leadership on both sides of the aisle worked over the weekend, and I guess that doesn't normally happen, weekend work, and so...
Well, let's hope they didn't do it for nothing. I mean, it's already Tuesday.
Sure.
So...
If they worked over the weekend, shouldn't we have heard about it already?
Yeah,
Yikes. All right, well, we got our fingers crossed. Not holding my breath, but I'll keep my fingers crossed. Transit Talk at 8:15 with Christina Kramer, and a port of call, likely Dick Taylor and Wendy coming in to talk with us. Wendy, the new deputy director for the Port of Sheldon. Throughout the rest of the week, oh man, we're going to have some music on the air with us this week. The Fars are coming in, Will and Laura. Fiddle Fest right around the corner. We've got tickets to give away, and we'll hear some great fiddle music from Will and Laura Farr on Thursday at 7:45. Also, Sean Wells coming in talking NCAA, March Madness, and local sports. And Dr. Alex Apostle on Friday. So great rest of the week here on Daybreak at 8:57. Finally, Carol, you'll be able to binge watch football, sort of. ABC's David Blaustein.
That's what I live for.
This is exciting. If you're a fan of the NFL, until now they've had to rely on HBO's Hard Knocks series to get a behind-the-scenes look at a football team, and that took place through preseason, not the regular season. Now the NFL and Amazon are teaming up to present All or Nothing, which will focus on the Arizona Cardinals 2015 season. There will be 8-hour-long episodes, and it will premiere this summer. David Blaustein, ABC News.
Millions of dollars. That would be very nice. That is a good show. I like that Hard Knocks on HBO. That's how I became enamored with the Houston Texans last season with old J.J. Swat, and then they did that Gonzaga story on HBO. But this is a cool one, too, facing the Arizona Cardinals of last season, who were pretty darn good. You just saw a picture of another former Seattle Seahawk.
I did. Lynch, Marshawn, he seems to be doing some traveling now. You know, he's retired, quote, quote. And he was in Egypt with some of his friends.
Photos of Egypt where it still looks like there's just desert and the pyramids. If you
right, if you look the other side where they're facing, it's a whole city and city. But it's a great view of the pyramids, and he's standing on a fence with a friend, and
he was on a camel the other day.
Warm out. They're wearing shorts.
I think he's like the national Kazakhstan football champion or something like that. He goes over there. They know who he is.
Yeah.
He promotes football, safe football.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I like, that's one good thing I like about social media, is you can see fun things that people are doing and promoting good things. You know, you got all the other stuff, and it can be for good.
It can be for good. 9 o'clock, ABC News. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good day.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Alex Jones and InfoWars on from 6 to 9 weekdays on iFIBER ONE News Radio, AM 1030 and FM 103.3 KMAS Shelton.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. You'll face tighter security at airports and transportation hubs around the country, stepped up due to the attacks in Brussels. ABC's Ryan Burrow is in